Yeah. I'm seeing two different times on my computers there. Anyway, if you're just trying to recognize this voice, this is the voice of the one and only, the Sugar Man. I know I have not migrated. Y'all been wondering where I am? Well, I am here. And I am here with the boss of bosses this morning, the world boss. He's been away for a little bit, but he's back. And you know there's much to discuss. Oh, yeah. So let's jump right in. I say good morning to you, PM.
Good morning. Cheryl, Candyman, the Sugar Man, Macmillan.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
I understand you left the public service by the end of June.
Yes.
You told them bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm out.
You're out.
What is under my nose?
Well, welcome back to the airwaves.
Yeah, it's good to be back. All right.
And good morning, all the comrades. Good morning. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Caribbean, North America, Britain, Europe, all over the world. We are here.
Yes, indeed. There's much to be discussed. But you did something important on the weekend. You participated in an interview with a major organization out of the United States of America. So maybe you can give us an update on that.
Yes, well, first of all, Candyman, I want to welcome you, and I want to apologize to our listeners, viewers, on the 13th, Monday the 13th of July. That is a Monday gone. I went to Trinidad on Saturday. I got back on Monday. But when I got back on Monday, I had to deal with an emergency situation. So I couldn't come in. But in Trinidad, I had an all-day Sunday, several hours of interviews with a group out of the United States who in Trinidad doing filming with important personalities, history makers. And they requested that I come to Trinidad. They made all the arrangements for me to be there. So I had this interview with them. Of course, in Trinidad, I had discussions with several important personalities in that country. Interesting days in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago, but we're not talking about that today. But it was a very interesting series of interviews discussing Comrade Ralph from early childhood right up to the present time. And still, despite some, I would say, Candyman, in perhaps 6-8 hours of interviews, you still had more to say. Yesterday, at Goss, I was very happy to welcome the South Rivers Methodist Primary School cricket team, the champions in 2026 in the primary cricket competition.
Yeah, they did the double.
They did the double.
They retained the championship.
They retained the championship. Along with the team were the principal and members of staff. Principal Rosalind Johnny. There was lots of food for lunch, lots of dessert. The dam was cleaned and ready for them. And the students had a wonderful time. In fact, I left them there just after 4 o'clock because I had to come to town for a meeting of the party executive at 5 o'clock at the party headquarters. So the kind of vibe you got from these kids, the teams now, they have 9 of them are male and 2 female. You know, the way the cricket competition, the primary cricket competition goes, they include the young ladies too. And there was a first yesterday in the family, Candyman. You were there and you created a little challenge, a problem for me, because you took Sarai and held her up and dipped her feet in the water in the dam, and she was having fun there with the primary school children from South Rivers, swimming, and they enjoying themselves.
Apparently that was not enough for her.
Well, after you left, she insisted that I get her in the water, so I had to put on her swimwear, and I had to I had to put on my own swimwear too, and took her in. So it was the first time she has been in the dam, because her mother was concerned that she shouldn't go inside the dam too early, which I can understand that.
Well,
but
it's certainly not going to be her last time.
She's within a few days she'd be 18 months old, so I guess this is about time. Her mother had said when she's 2 years old, but a few months short of 2 years.
They have to shift the timeline.
Yeah. And this morning, she insisted that I take her down there too.
For her walk?
For her walk this morning, and I took her there, and she took off her Crocs and threw them in the water while I sang "Row, row, row your boat." She thinks the Crocs are boats. And she herself, now learning to speak, was she got past "row, row." She didn't get all the words, but she's getting there.
That's enough.
She's making progress. So you left me. You whetted the appetite of Sarai, but the kids were happy to have her there in the water. And when they dived in front of her and came up back, that was quite amusing for all of them, because they were doing a kind of peekaboo. Real fun. We had, and I spoke to Roslyn last evening, and she reported that the kids wanted to come back, and of course,
I'm sure they do.
I will have them back, and I tell them we must make the numbers larger. I have to get the students from Byron Park Hill also and Georgetown. I've had them and Connery. I've had them at different times over the past year up at Goss, and I visited them. It's always good for the children and I to interact with one another. I want to indicate that on Sunday the 19th of July at 11 o'clock, I'll be appearing on the Bob Report, the program out of Grenada, Dr. Kellon Bob, B-U-B-B. There's a radio live streaming program. On the program would also be Chester Humphrey, who is renowned trade unionist, political activist in Grenada and president of the Grenada-Cuba Friendship Society, along with Louis Romaine of the Institute of the Black World. We're going to have a discussion on CARICOM-Cuba relations, reparations, and foreign policy. So that should be a good discussion. Probably will be an hour plus 90 minutes. In the same vein, though, I have to express regret to Joseph Yewat Lane, a Grenadian, and his listeners, viewers. I was unable to attend his program last Sunday, July the 12th, on the subject One Caribbean, Aspirations and Challenges of the Regional Integration. I didn't know about it. There was clearly a mix-up in communication. I didn't know about it until at the last minute. By that time, I was in Trinidad, and I had a schedule conflict. But I would do it sometime with Ewart Lane. There's a program called Legalize. And just reminding everybody that Parliament's sitting, which was from July the 2nd, which was suspended to July 21st at 9 a.m. So I like always to give important dates, things which we have preliminarily what I was involved in, a few things which have happened, and prospective things to happen, about to happen, and then deal with the issues of the day. Candyman, there's so many issues, but I believe that the one which a program of real information like ours, that the one I should address first, and I want to spend some time on it, is the downgrade by Moody's rating agency of the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yes.
It downgrade after NDP's nearly 8 months in office.
8 months.
Nearly 8 months in office. Downgrade. I want to point out that before December 2007, Moody's didn't do any ratings. And
well, I think it's important for us to explain first
what Moody's
is about. Yeah,
Moody's is more than one rating agencies you have in the world. Moody's is a very important one. Out of USA, there's one Standard & Poor's. There's also Caribbean rating agency. But Moody's is one of the important ones. And they look at your economy, they look at your fiscal situation, they look very much at the external accounts, they look at your investment grade, a totality of factors. So they kind of do a report card. The IMF, in their Article 4 consultations, they also do a report card. But the IMF will do the report card, look at some wider policy issues, and make some recommendations. Moody's rating agency is when people are going to invest in your country and people are going to lend you money, they look at you. They look at Moody's. They look at Standard & Poor's. They themselves will have a look, but they'll take guidance from these agencies. These agencies are not the final word. It's not gospel, but they're
good indicators.
Very important indicators, and they have influence in directing individuals, companies,
especially
entities,
lenders and
investors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, this report card, for clarity, is it more focused on the past or your past performance, past and current performance, or is it more focused on a projection of what is to come or what is likely to come, or is it a combination of both?
A combination of things. They will tell you roughly what the situation has been, but they're concerned with what is and what is likely to be. And what is likely to be depends on what is and the policy directions chosen by the government. And this is important to understand. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that you asked that question, because I want to begin by making certain main points. The first is, under the NDP administration, Moody's has downgraded SVG's credit rating to its lowest level in history. I want that to sink in. To its lowest level in history under the NDP. And while Moody considers many factors, the downgrade is largely a product of policy changes under the new administration. Because when you read Moody's report, what has been, they know about, and I will come to that as what they have said about us, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In July last year, in December, just after the election, and what they said now on July the 12th. And we can talk about what they even said even before July last year.
How many years, roughly, have they been providing reports on St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Moody's?
Since December 2007.
2007.
2007.
So, just under 20 years.
Just under 20 years. Now, when you read Moody's carefully, and I see some NDP propagandists, one who is looking for something, I don't know if he'd get what he wants. I wish him all the best, but I'm sure he's going to be disappointed. And another one who apparently was submerged. He only has brought his head above water recently because he obviously wasn't paying attention to what we were saying or doing, or what Moody's was saying or doing, or what the IMF Article 4 consultation reports were doing or saying. So he's just come up to take air, presumably before he goes back down. But in taking air, he runs his NDP propagandistic line now. And I'm not going to deal with sideshows like these people. I'm going to, when I present the facts, when I do the analysis, you would be able to see, and any listener would be able to hear a true and proper reflection of what Moody is saying and the situation where the NDP is leading us. And then, armed with the information, the data, the analysis, you'd be able to deal with the rubbish that the NDP and the propagandists talking about. So, as I'd answered you, while Moody considers many factors, this particular downgrade, is largely a product of policy changes under the new NDP administration that produced, first, an NDP 2026 budget with wider deficits and increased market borrowing. I emphasize these things because I spoke to them in my budget address.
You did.
They had a deficit on the face of it, a current account deficit of $103 million. And they had increased market borrowing. And market borrowing I'm talking about here on the commercial market. In this case, what they call domestic loans.
Local loans.
Loans from St. Vincent and from the region through bonds and other such instruments, which they carry to a record height of $200 million. And you remember...
That's double last year's amount. More than double.
And yes, and well, last year it was just over 100. Now it's 200. And I pointed out the difficulty of that, of even getting it, but that by putting your budget, focusing it on so much market borrowing, as distinct from projects which we had in the pipeline on concessional borrowing, because they had a number of pet things they want to do now, and they want to show the changing things from what ULP doing. And they went for this 200, them and their gurus went for this $200 million up front and put the deficit at $103 million on the face of it. In other words, they were taking their two fingers and poking them in the eyes of people like Moody's, the IMF, everybody else. Because for what reason? Not a reason other than to make political points. And they were being reckless in their doing it. As I said to them, the budget at one and the same time was doing something strange. Being austere, cutting back a lot of things from which poor people will benefit, but being reckless in the manner in which they were seeking to fund the budget. So the first policy change is that a NDP 2026 budget with wider deficits and increased market borrowing. By the way, if I just pause here to tell you this, the gentleman whom Friday had brought the staff officer for the IMF on April the 28th, Sergey Antoshin, you remember that occasion?
Yes, I remember.
He commented adversely on the fact that the 2026 budget, passed in February, envisages a deficit of 19% of GDP.
He did.
Way above anything which had been budgeted hitherto. So it's the first point. Second policy that the NDP has produced, the specter of a debt default where the NDP was saying that they're going to do debt swap. In other words, high debt, they want to swap it. So the people who lend you money, they will take a haircut. But I had pointed out
how does that work? How does this debt swapping work?
Debt swap, there are several different kinds of debt swaps. Mm-hmm. But Moody, when you read Moody's in 2026, Moody is telling you, they're giving their rationale for the downgrade. One of the things which they highlighted is that the NDP government is saying they're going to take money which they owe entities.
The banks or the lending institutions, etc.
They're going to want a debt swap. They're going to swap that high debt for a lower debt, or if even it's the same debt, to get lower interest rate. There are various types of debt swaps. For instance, in 2009, after the 2007-8-9 global economic crisis, which was triggered by an activity in September 2008, but it was building up before.
Yeah.
We owed under $200 million to the NCB. The government owed. We went to the CDB, take advantage of that particular crisis, because NCB was a small, undercapitalized bank.
That's how we inherited National Commercial Bank at the time.
Commercial Bank.
Yes.
But because of the economic crisis, it had liquidity problems. A small, undercapitalized bank with liquidity problems, you really have challenges. And many banks, domestic banks, went under in the region.
Liquidity problems mean they don't have enough cash on hand.
They don't have enough cash at hand.
Right.
So what I did, I went to the CDB, the Caribbean Development Bank. I said, lend me $100 million. Pay the NCB that $100 million, where the average interest rate for that $100 million, because some of it was overdraft, different components, was about 9%. Because interest rates were higher in the earlier period. And we got the interest rate at 4% from CDB. So that immediately in over a year, on 100 million, you'll save $5 million. But at the same time, we provided the liquidity of $100 million to the NCB. The NCB wouldn't have wanted us to liquidate all their indebtedness.
Yes.
Because they make money when they lend money. It's only
That's
that,
how banks operate.
but because they had a liquidity problem, they were happy to get this 100 million. And in that way, we were able to stabilize the NCB, took one step back to take several forward.
Right.
That's one example. Another examples of debt swaps is that you go to the government goes to a group of borrowers and say, listen to me. You see this debt which we have here? I can't pay it. It's not sustainable. Over this period, I want you to give me a haircut on either the debt itself, the principal sum, or on the repayment terms. Sometimes if you involve development institutions, like for instance, the CDB, they may fashion a package which they may involve some policies also, changes in policies as a condition. But the CDB wouldn't swap you their own debt. Because if you owe the CDB money and you go to them, you don't pay them and you want a reduction, that would be seen as a default. And the CDB's own credit rating could be affected. Mm-hmm. Because the lenders, the borrowers are defaulting.
Yes.
So I'm not giving all the variations of debt swap because we could have a whole program on that, but I'm giving possible examples. But Moody's know that when governments do debt swaps, largely the private investor takes a haircut. That is to say, take something less than they expected.
Less than they're owed.
Less than they're owed. No. It's a form of restructuring of a debt. But I pointed out in the budget, in my budget speech, I said you just talk about debt swap and climate swaps and all kind of things. I say when you deal with debt swaps, what you have here is that the external debt is low interest rate. The external debt of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, even as put out in their own 2026 estimates, the external debt is $2.54 million. Billion dollars. Mm. And the domestic debt is $993 million. So you notice that the
external
debt
way more
is in the, call it 70% in that
of the total debt.
Of the total debt.
Yeah.
Because if we even say 1 billion, it's 993 million. And the total is 3.5 billion. It means that it is less than 1/3, less than 30% actually. So 70-something% is the overseas debt. But the bulk of that debt, 99% of that debt, is quite concessional. The biggest lenders are the CDB and the World Bank. Similarly, at the end of December 2025, $783 million to CDB. The World Bank, $775 million. And Taiwan, $503 million. You see already. Mm-hmm. But all of those debts are low interest
rates.
In the case of and long periods to repay back the money. And I went through the numbers with them. I don't have to go through all the numbers here. Just make the statement, and anybody who want to dispute it, I could go into the details because I have the information here. No. If you therefore if you're going to do any swapping or any restructuring, you can't go to the World Bank, the IMF, the extent of the debts which you owe them, because the IMF debts from the rapid credit facility. The IMF debts which we incurred from the rapid credit facility.
This would be for disaster response
and anything on the external
COVID and so on,
where there's something beyond our control. Mm-hmm. 1/4%.
Okay.
Ranging 5, 7, 10 years. The World Bank, the highest debt, and that's an old one. The Cumberland Hydro Project.
This was for Vinlec, was it?
Vinlec.
Yeah.
That's from,
electricity.
That's from Keto them days. Mm-hmm. 3%.
That's the highest.
Yes. Then we have the bulk of it is 3/4 percentage point for 40 odd years. It's almost like a gift. Those things are not amenable to any.
In other words, these terms are so generous. It's unlikely.
Any swapping you get in anywhere else, you wouldn't even get to that generous state.
Yes.
No. So the point is this. To show you how illogical this government is, NDP government. You're talking debt swap, but you decide to finance your budget with $200 million
in local
loans. And when I asked Friday, remember I told them they wouldn't be able to.
You told them they would be able to mobilize that kind of money.
And if you mobilize it, what you mobilize is going to be high rates of interest and short periods of amortization.
You did.
They're paying interest rate. For a question which I asked him, up to 7.25%. And having a shorter period of 6 years. Because these bonds, maximum you'll get 10 years. But you go on for you borrowing money up to 7.25%. That will give you Bamanco.
Much higher. That's more weight than you can carry.
That's why I tell you to give you Bamanco. If you're in a real crunch, you might go and take a small piece of money like that. That's like
not 200 million.
Or not basing a budget on this. It's like somebody decide that, boy, I don't know, let me roll the dice. Rather than going to the CDB or World Bank, this thing may take some little time and so forth. It's like you're going cash.
Cash whiz.
Somebody is...
quick cash.
One of the quick cash thing. Yeah. And I talk about the quick cash company. I talk about them fast cash company thing.
Yeah.
Where you're paying...
High rates of interest.
Very high rates of interest. In that case, 25-30% instead of going to the bank here in St. Vincent and getting 7%, 8%, 9%, whatever it is. They would give to a consumer who is not... for a consumer loan. For something to keep you going recurrent.
So Moody's now
Moody's
is paying
now-
attention to this.
Moody's paying attention. So
Yeah.
the first point I'm making,
And the IMF, of course.
the first point is that the 2026 budget had, on the face of it, a deficit of $103 million, and as commented adversely by the IMF man himself, 19% of GDP. And increased market borrowing. It's not a case where you're borrowing, let's say you're borrowing 100 million. But there's a lot of things which happen unforeseen that you have to go back and get a supplementary for 50 or 60 million. This is you deliberately upfront decide how you're going to do it and leave other monies, other projects, either take them out completely from the budget or put them on ice. Slow march them. So that's the first thing. The 2026 budget for the NDP had wider deficits than hitherto and increased market borrowing. First policy change. And Moody noted that. Secondly, the specter of debt default, because they're talking about debt swap, which would mean they're asking private people
To take less money.
because the external debt is so concessional.
You're not going to be getting any debt swapping on that. Right.
Nah.
So you have to turn now to your local debt.
You could get debt relief. Like,
Well, the Prime Minister said when he was going to the IMF meetings in Washington, he said he was going to get debt relief. He returned subsequently. We haven't heard anything about debt relief.
you know debt relief which I got?
I remember Fartley Hall.
I get debt relief for Notley Hall because I fight them. I fight the consortium of banks and Sachet, the Italian guarantor for these banks, where they waste a lot of money. I buy Otley Hall for 16 point something million EC dollars and got debt relief as a consequence of 180 million.
180 million.
Yes. Then I got debt relief under the Commonwealth Debt Initiative, which had been refused to the NDP. And the British government had refused them debt relief because of corruption, no serious policy to deal with money laundering or poverty, or their good governance was questionable. Four reasons.
These were the stated reasons.
These were
why
the
they were
stated
refused.
reasons why they said they weren't giving them debt relief. I came to office, and in less than a year, I got the same debt relief under the Commonwealth Debt Initiative with policies which you ain't really yet implement all of them, but you give a direction. So policy statements are important.
So within a year, you were able to secure debt relief.
Yes.
And at least within a year, the current Prime Minister was able to ask for debt relief.
Yes. And I got.
You got. He didn't get.
And then I got debt relief from Venezuela, from the
Petrocaribe.
Petrocaribe,
Yes.
and Alba arrangements.
Alba Bank. Yes.
No. Then, third policy issue, and I'll go in some detail about this in Moody's report. There are no credible plans to grow the economy, because all the previous Moody reports, while they will talk about you have to be careful with the debt, they were always emphasizing the growth of the economy. In fact, even in this report, they said despite COVID, volcanic eruption, Beryl, and other
external
shocks, we were able in 2005 to have the economy grow at 3.4%. And when we come to what they said about us and what the IMF said about us earlier, we were on a trajectory of sustained growth. Because sustained growth going to bring more revenues, grow the GDP, and mean that you would have a smaller debt to GDP ratio. They also knew that after we had finished the port project, which was a massive one, they themselves accepted, the Moody's, in our time, and I'll come to that again, that by 2027, 2028, you would have been seeing a decline in the growth of the debt and the debt to the GDP ratio. I just want to mention that. So let me just recap these three things. Three policy changes by the NDP, which Moody spoke to. The NDP 2026 budget with wider deficits and increased commercial market borrowing. That's what we call market borrowing. You go in the commercial market. 2, there's a specter of debt default because the NDP, they spooked the market talking about debt default.
The Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
They spooked the market also by loose talk of unsustainable debt.
Yeah. The Prime Minister went on radio and announced to the world that St. Vincent and Negril is basically a failed state.
Yeah. And that the debt is unsustainable.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
But when he does these things, he's talking to a narrow base of people that he thinks doesn't understand what's going on. They just take his word for it.
The
sensible people are listening to you.
The people in the market
that matter.
The people in the market are listening.
They're listening.
Let me ask you something, Candyman. You go to a banker in Kingston. You say, "Dear banker, I have come to you with an amazing proposal. My company is insolvent, and I personally am insolvent. But I want you to lend me some more money, even though the existing debt I have with you is not sustainable. And really, in you lending me more money, I want you to take a haircut on the existing debt."
Yes. I owe you $100 million. My company is broke. I am also broke. I can't repay you that $100 million.
But give me more money.
Yes.
To get me out of the hole.
Give me another $100 million.
But you got to take a haircut.
The $100 million that I owe you, let me pay you back $80 million out of that.
Yeah.
And lend me another $100 million. And
the fella, the banker will say to you, "Candyman."
They call security?
No. It say, "Do you have the telephone number of your personal psychiatrist?" Candyman, do you have the number of your personal psychiatrist?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Moody emphasized, well, let me put it this way. Moody emphasized that there are no credible plans to grow the economy by not mentioning, for the first time, anything about growth with the NDP other than the growth of the ULP, of the economy under the ULP.
That's not normal.
Not normal.
They always mention the growth perspective.
I'll come to that again shortly. But I want to give, first of all, a clear, authoritative summary up front. As recently as December 2025, and I'm dealing with all the main points, and I will amplify them. As recently as December 2025, right after the ULP lost the November 2025 elections, Moody's gave no inkling that there would be a downgrade, even while recognizing the impacts of high debt and the natural disasters and COVID, which caused the enhancement of the debt, the increase of the debt. I want to make the point too that Moody's already knew about the debt and repeatedly maintained a B3 stable rating. This B3 stable rating has been on for the period 10 years, 2016 to 2025. You think they didn't know?
They knew what the debt was.
What the debt was?
In December last year.
They knew what the debt was in December last year, and they had the published report what the debt was in by September 2024. They had it because you're talking about 25. They knew what it was in 2024. They saw Camilo's budget. They also would have read Camilo's budget speech from page 87 onwards. About 4 pages discussing debt sustainability, fiscal responsibility, and good governance, where Camilo laid out all the facts and pointed out the trajectory in which we are on with our fiscal responsibility framework to bring the debt over the short to medium term in a zone which would accord with investment grade. They would have known all that. So the elevated nature of our debt
It's not new to them.
Not new to Moody's.
Yes.
So in December, 1 month after we lost the election, they gave no inkling that there would be a downgrade, even while recognizing the impacts of high debt and the impacts of natural disasters.
So this is at the very end of last year, 2025.
2025.
So something must have happened
Something
at
happened.
the beginning of this year or since.
Something happened with the loose talk by Friday, and then the loose talk was complemented by a budget which was unfit for the times, including the $103 million on the face of it for the deficit, current account deficit, and which also had $200 million in local loans. And the budget was an impossible budget. That's why they're having the problems they're having now. And I will speak a little bit more to that. I've spoken about this before, you know. But sometimes when you have to get somebody from outside to say something, to say, but wait, Ralph was warning about this, you know. No. So Moody already knew about the debt and repeatedly maintained a B3 stable rating. The downgrade followed the first NDP budget, high projected financing needs, and uncertainty surrounding the debt swap discussions. Because they talk about debt swap. Some theoretician tell them something, or they brief catch it from Google.
AI.
AI, thank you. They don't know what this thing would be, the thing they're talking to a cloistered academic group in, who similarly unrelated to the world of practicalities. And the latest report, Moody's latest report, no longer balances debt with a convincing growth story. We always had a convincing growth story, even when we had elevated debt. And Moody's understood the reason for the debt. They say, these are serious people. They have a debt. They have to deal with these problems. We grasp that. They ain't defaulting. They ain't going and borrowing excessively on the commercial market. They're spending a lot of time and attention and working with the World Bank, working with the CDB, with the Taiwanese, because I even when the loan for the hospital, when we had to switch it, when given the state of the benchmark SOFR, the rate, which replaced the London Interbank offered rate, I said to the Taiwanese government, I said, well, we can't pay a commercial rate of 6%. So the only way we would take this loan is if you, the government, guarantee that, I'm talking Taiwanese government, that if the SOFR, the rate, goes with everything which is computed above 3.5, you will pay that difference. That we will never pay anything more than 3.5. That letter is inside the Ministry of Finance.
That's how that came about.
Agreement. That's how that
was the
came about.
negotiation.
That's the negotiation. I held personally. I tell them no. I said, that is the loan. No. Even though I wanted the hospital built. And we had been at it for a long time with the World Bank and OFID, the OPEC Fund for International Development. So the latest Moody report no longer balances debt with a convincing growth story. This is the critical change, is expectations about future policy, not a discovery of old problems.
In other words, Moody's is saying we still have debt. Debt remains.
We know the debt. We knew it.
Right. But there's an absence now of a convincing growth story.
The change circumstances is your 2026 budget. And your increased market borrowing. Not only that, private placement market borrowing. And I could come to that if I have the time. We had done private placement market borrowing too. But this private placement market borrowing has been very unsuccessful because after 6 months, they only raised $52 million of the 200 million, and they had to pay up to 7.25%. I had to take as small as 6 years amortization. In other words, their own budget choking them. Ordinary people feeling it,
Yes.
That's why everybody's saying things that, Yeah. You go on the block.
Everything's slow.
Up in Sharps, fellas discussing it on the block. In South of us, fellas discussing it on the block. In Union Island.
They are in Union Island.
They're discussing it. Down in Chateaubelair, the talk on the block? The talk on the block. Boy, when Comrade was there, money was spinning. Money was turning when Comrade was there.
That's the harsh reality.
No, not an economist, not Moody's.
The ordinary man can feel it.
The ordinary man and woman. People on the block. That is reported to me. I have it also on my phone.
Right now, 1 week after Carnival, the city has gone back dead. I made that note yesterday. 1 week after Carnival. Everybody gone back home now, so,
No. I don't want to go through the whole history of the ratings with Moody's, but just to tell you, for the last 10 years, from 2016 to 2025, there are no rating changes. You hear me? None.
Rating. So let us, I want the people to understand what we're talking about with these ratings. So let's explain the ratings to them, because the new rating is a CAA. Is it CAA?
CAA 1.
Right. CAA 1.
CAA 1. That is.
What does that particular rating mean? What's the meaning of that rating?
That is, you're well into what you call poor quality, very high credit risk.
That's bad.
Poor
That's
quality,
very bad.
very high credit. Not just speculative. Just, it is confirmed as poor quality.
Poor quality.
Very high credit risk.
High credit risk.
Very high credit risk.
Let's break that down. What does that mean? What's a high credit risk?
Well, people are reluctant to lend you money. But if they lend you money, they're going to lend you for shorter periods and at a higher rate of interest.
All right.
And in the case of governments, anybody who will lend you the money, let's say CDB, World Bank, they go on tie them to some policy changes.
Is this also tied to trust? A matter of trust?
It is a trust. It is a matter of trust. It's a matter of trust. It's a matter of trust.
In other words, we don't trust that you can deliver on repaying, keeping your responsibilities to repay your debts, especially over any period of time, any long period of time.
Look.
All right.
Candyman, let me summarize on the Moody's report about the main points. They address 4 main factors. The intensifying of government liquidity pressures. They don't got money to pay the bills.
The students at the University of West Indies are complaining their fees have not been paid. They're having trouble.
Secondly,
vendors are complaining, at the government, etc. So we know.
Secondly, elevated gross financing needs. The 200 million, for instance. A large and rising debt burden, and the authorities' active exploration of a debt swap within the context of saying that the debt is unsustainable. 3 of those 4 elements are creations of the NDP since their election. 3 of them. The only one which existed before
is the debt.
Is a large debt. And they admitted in their report is as a result of COVID, natural disasters, Sofre, burial,
other shocks.
And a major capital project like the port. We all had to build a new port. You can't have a country, an island nation, without a port. If we are a landlocked country, you need roads and railway.
Right.
And you need the airplane them. And if you carry goods, you need road and you need railway. But if you're an island, you need a good airport and you need a good port. It's as plain as day. And we started the exploration of building a modern port since 2009. Just months after we broke ground for Argyle International. That is how we in the ULP used to plan. And you take Moody's along with you with your plan. You take CDB and World Bank and IMF and everybody else with a plan. Remember I told them, I said this matter of going for an austerity package, but coupling that austerity package with an overly ambitious commercial borrowing, market borrowing. I say you want to grow in the economy and you are choking yourself with even more debt. You're getting the worst of both worlds. Am I explaining it
Yes.
clearly enough for people to see?
Yeah. People
If
are
I inside a Johnny Jones church in Chester Cottage, Mount Carmel, and I say so, you would hear amen. You'd hear amen.
People are following.
No. Let us analyze the three of the four elements which are creations of the NDP since. Moody's analysis of the liquidity pressures and gross financing needs are gleaned from any objective examination of the NDP 2026 budget estimates. This book. Examine this. I hear an uninitiated fella in matters of finance, Nature Stevenson, say that this budget was basically the ULP budget. Well, we never our deficit, our current account deficit on the face of it. He apparently missed the entire debate.
He said that?
Yeah. He said that recently. In answering a question. The estimates in 2025, let me just remind everybody what our deficit was on the face of it, the current account deficit. Let me just find it. Just bear with me.
I don't think Nature said that, man. I think maybe
Yes.
that's got to be AI.
The deficit, on the estimates, it was 941. Sorry, hold on. Deficit was under $10 million.
This is 2024, 2025?
2025.
2025.
Let me see here. No, sorry, not under $10 million. Under $6 million. 5 point something million dollars. You hear me, brethren?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Just over 5 million.
Because the revenues which
that's the last deficit under ULP. What's the first one under NDP for comparison?
We had estimated to collect $907.7 million and spend on the recurrent expenditure $913.3. So you notice 5 point something. Their one is $103 million. I just want to, on the face of it.
Their first budget.
Yeah. Yes. And part of it.
This is something they railed against in opposition. Yeah. I remember years of animators getting up and railing about the deficit.
Yeah.
You know.
No. And this included, when the analysis is given, included the record $200 million in local loans. The NDP administration has been talking very frequently and loosely about debt swaps. Debt for climate swaps. Debt for nature swaps. Without providing any information whatsoever on the terms or conditions of those swaps, or even the partner institutions. I saw they have issued a statement saying, after Moody spanked them on it. They're talking about it since last year, shortly after the elections. They talk about it before the election. But nobody has taken that seriously. After the election, serious people taking them seriously. And they talking loosely when Moody say, well, usually these debt swap means private investors, private lenders, they're going to take a haircut. That's the language. They're going to take a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Either on the principal, the interest, or any other terms, including period of amortization. No. This loose talk has worried Moody's. When Moody's came out, they issued a statement say, well, they ain't going to just do that swap, so they will do it within the context of working with the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union and working with the World Bank. Purely an afterthought, just they decided they're going to issue a press release to see if they could throw smoke in people's eye. But pray tell, which of the debt you have here, you want to swap?
They haven't indicated.
Because the external debt, as I indicated, is already...
That's a no-go zone. Not realistically.
Given the very generous terms. And then you're going to people who buy the bonds. By the way, one of the things we need to inquire into, given the way they're functioning, they're supposed to put money.
The consolidated fund.
They're supposed to put money in the fund for, and there's an item in it in the estimates.
Yes.
To pay the bonds on an ongoing basis.
Oh.
I don't know if they put in it or if they have accurately estimated the amount, the sinking fund. When you have bonds,
we need to ask that question in Parliament.
When you have bonds, they said that they were putting aside this year $25 million to put in the sinking fund. What happens usually? You have bonds. You're supposed to pay the interest every 6 months and pay the full principal at the end of the period. Well, bonds are becoming mature in different stages. So you have to put in a sinking fund to have enough money there
to cover
take
those
care
payments
when it is mature. Sometimes, very often, a person roll over the bond.
They don't collect.
Another bond this week.
Another one.
Once I'm getting the interest payments,
I'm good.
I'm cool.
Like a reinvestment.
If I'm getting 6% interest, without working up a sweat.
Yeah, I keep it going.
Yeah. Oh, Heavenly Father, I get 7.25 and you could pay me that.
I'm in heaven.
Except to say, the higher the risk, the higher the interest rate, and the shorter the period of amortization. Because there's when people lending you, they say, "Boy, let me keep the rope short with this cattle. Let me keep the rope short with this cattle," because.
And Moody's is saying no, we're now in high risk territory.
High risk. Moody is saying the risk we are in is not just. It's not a speculative, poor quality, high risk. They're a poor quality to be invested in.
What people are saying, some of their people are saying, this is a result of 25 years of mismanagement. But have you, in the 20 years or so, just under 20 years, has your government ever received such a
Absolutely not. I
rating?
just said, for the last 10 years, we had a B3 stable. We never go down there. We never got down in the hole. And the reason for the hole is the exploration of debt swap, which is indicator policy, the elevated gross financing needs, and the $200 million for local loans, and additional to that, Candyman, you're talking down the country. As a field state, you're talking down the economy. You're talking down that the debt is unsustainable. All right. Think you're giving Ralph a black eye. Well, Moody's is listening. Think it.
What's the old people say if Barracuda come out to see and tell you, shark a toothy?
No. Hear what Moody said. This thing about the debt swap, I was worried Moody's. They say the NDP's, quote, the government's active exploration of a debt swap includes the possibility that the sovereign, that means the government, cannot avoid a restructuring on terms that would constitute a default under our definition. What rating agencies despise is a government having borrowed the money, the sovereign having borrowed the money, one year back less. You say, I'm hearing the details about this debt swap. So they're saying, NDP said they have an active exploration of the debt swap. And Moody's saying, because they're talking about the future, they're giving a outlook. They said this includes a possibility that the sovereign, the government, cannot avoid a restructuring on terms that would constitute a default under our definition. That's from Moody's report, not my words. I wonder if the lawyer who come up from underwater, the NDP lawyer, whether he read that. I'm sure he pays more attention to his client's business than he did with that. Well, as to the other one, what are you looking for?
We move on from the other one.
Yeah. If the NDP had not spoken so loosely about an unsustainable debt burden, or so recklessly about debt swaps without definitions, terms, or conditions, Moody would not have downgraded the outlook on the possibility that the NDP was considering defaulting on our debt. But once you begin to talk like that, Moody's are saying, why? The man them said the thing is unsustainable.
They can't handle it.
They can't handle it going for a debt swap.
Yeah.
They say, boy, this outlook is terrible.
The future looks bleak.
So we ain't putting our mouth saying B3 stable like we did with Ralph them for the last 10 years. No. We ain't going there. This thing is poor quality. This is very high risk. For months on this radio station, I've spoken, Camilo has spoken, others have warned about talking down the economy, loosely for political purposes. And I warned that it would spook investors. And this is precisely what happened. I happen to know that a particular entity which is involved in placement, don't know if they were involved in St. Vincent's instruments. I know when we were there, they were involved. The people who were involved, when they heard Friday talking about unsustainable debt and about debt swap, they said, Lord, there goes high interest rate, there goes short repayments, periods, even by private placements to banks and insurance companies, they're going to raise the money. But I told them that. But I'm telling you that entities have reported the oh my God moment. The four factors which they emphasize. One of them was the debt burden, which was long-standing. The intensifying government liquidity pressures, the elevated gross financing needs, and the active exploration of a debt swap. Those are the things which created the problem.
I mean, we're getting some calls coming in there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all right.
Maybe. No. What about the high debt? Let me address that. Moody did not suddenly discover St. Vincent and Grenadines debt in July 2026. High debt, climate shocks, and major infrastructure borrowing had been identified repeatedly in earlier reviews. While the sovereigns, the government's B3 rating and stable outlook were maintained. What changed between December 2025 and July 2026 was not the inherited debt stock. It was in the estimate, it was in Camilo's speech. Last year, budget speech, as I just gave. This is not, Moody's were not underwater, coming up for air like this lawyer who write a piece. Propagandistic piece for the NDP. No, they knew about it. So what changed between December last year and July this year, when they issued a downgrade, was not the inherited debt stock, but Moody's assessment of the policy direction, the financial strategy, and the market signals under the new administration. The high debt has been a consistent factor in our rating from Moody's. In 2024, Moody's predicted that the debt would stabilize around 90% by 2027. No, because the NDP has offered no plan for debt management, or critically, no plan for economic growth. Moody's predicting the debt to GDP to rise to almost 125%. The debt to GDP ratio. So the NDP had an irresponsible 2026 budget. They attempt to scaremonger on the debt and the lack of a plan to grow the economy, grow the GDP, and thus reduce the debt to GDP ratio have resulted in Moody's changes. That's the long and short of it.
Yeah.
In Moody's 2024 report, let me switch off this phone because it seems as though.
Yes. A lot of people trying to get in touch with you.
In Moody's 2024 report, they were aware of the volcanic eruption and Hurricane Beryl. And they maintained the B3 rating with a stable outlook because of the government's plans and responses. The IMF report of July 2024, which also knew what Moody's knew. What did they say? They gave an excellent report. They said, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has achieved, I'm reading from the IMF report.
What does it say?
St. Vincent and the Grenadines has achieved a robust recovery from recent compounded shocks. The authorities' decisive policy responses, large-scale investments, and robust tourism, growth in tourism, have contributed to the recovery. They talk about some downside risks. They talk about the debt. And they also said the economy is facing significant challenges from a rapidly aging population, intensifying threat of natural disasters and climate change, amid the still high public debt. But they saw we were on a path.
This is 2024.
July 2024. Look.
But they at this point, they're seeing a clearly defined strategy. They're seeing a framework, a proper framework that they have faith in, that they believe
absolutely
will work.
Hear what Camilo said in his budget speech on January the 13th, 2025. His last speech. Under the rubric debt sustainability, fiscal responsibility, and good governance. He said the government's response to the recent massive disasters have limited our fiscal space and pushed our debt upwards. He didn't mince words. He went on. Nonetheless, our debt remains sustainable. Our debt to GDP goals remain valid, and our commitment to fiscal prudence remains strong. And then he goes on. At the end of 2019, Candyman, our total debt to GDP ratio stood at 73.5%. Since then, the unforeseen impacts of COVID-19 pandemic, the eruptions of La Soufrière volcano and Hurricane Beryl, have each enforced a concerted state response to contain economic scarring, support the vulnerable, and spur people-centered recovery. That's the opposite of austerity. These fellows, I say, have managed to alter the debt profile of the country without growth.
And the IMF indicated that in their 2024 report. You just read it. They said that that is exactly the reason why we were still able to do well, even after those shocks.
With these natural disasters.
Because we managed to grow the economy.
He goes on to say, today's debt to GDP ratio, that's in January 2025, of 94% is largely the product of these responses and the cost of investing in a large necessary project that will alter our developmental trajectory for the better. That is like the port.
As the port.
Here it goes on. After each of these three disasters, those with the mismanagement thesis now, they conveniently forget things. After each of these three disasters, the government was forced to borrow money. This is Camilo. For example, the government has incurred 3 loans from the CDB to respond to COVID. The Coronavirus 2019 Support Loan, the Safety Nets for Vulnerable Populations Affected by COVID Disease Loan, and the Improving Response and Resilience of the Health Sector to COVID 2019. Those are 3 loans we went to take from CDB to hold the things together and advance it. These 3 critical loans currently have a disbursed outstanding debt of 55 million. A further 43.2 million in COVID was borrowed from the IMF Rapid Credit Facility to respond to the volcanic eruptions. The government again borrowed from the CDB but also negotiated with the World Bank for the volcanic eruption emergency project and the catastrophic deferred drawdown option CATDDO, which totaled an additional 167 million in debt. The IMF Rapid Credit Facility added an additional 31.3 million in debt. That is why the IMF said, the World Bank said, what did they call him? The authorities' decisive policy responses. They knew that the debt was increasing because of that, but you couldn't leave things so. Camilo went on to say, this is not an exhaustive listing. However, these 3 lenders provided over 300 million in loans to help St. Vincent and Grenadines respond to the pandemic and the volcanic eruptions. The loans were vital to our survival. They make up a substantial portion of our increased external debt. Similarly, he goes on to talk about the Saudi Fund for Development. The Caribbean Development Bank and the World Bank have once again been called upon to help us to recover from Hurricane Beryl. The World Bank Berry project will provide 167 million worth of loans in the coming years, a number that is far cry from what is needed, 875 million. In other words, because it's close to $1 billion in loss and damage from the hurricane. Why do you think we hold the country together? Huh? And Moody said we increased the growth amidst all those problems last year by 3.4%. Why they don't talk about that?
Even when increased growth was not expected. Because I remember in
even when it was not expected.
2021.
Camilo went on. He said in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl, we leveled with the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines and told them that our response would necessitate more borrowing. The Honorable Prime Minister said that forced to choose between DEATH and DEBT, we would gladly borrow to save lives and livelihoods. That decision undergirds many of the progressive people-centered policies that define the budget 2025. Then he goes on. Beyond disaster response, our current borrowings are invested wisely in the transformation of the Vincentian economy. We have borrowed to build a port, hospital, clinics, roads and schools. We have invested in the hotel room stock to boost the hospitality sector and in agriculture to boost farmers' productivity. We have made forward-looking investments in digital transformation and the blue economy. Those things they're talking about every time they have a press briefing. Those are monies which we borrowed, you know. They're behaving as though these are initiatives out of the sky by them.
Yeah.
These are things which we borrowed, had in place, and were rolling out. Critically, we have borrowed to build resilience and to minimize the damage from future storms, hurricanes, and climate events. Camilo said this is not reckless or profligate spending. On the contrary, these are prudent investments in our future growth and development. Without investment, there will be no growth, there will not be employment, and there will not be development. That's why I say,
this was his budget speech again.
This is
for 2025.
And all the...
So Moody's, the people at Moody's listening to Camilo's speech here now.
They're saying, well, the brother has a plan.
Yeah. There's
the
high debt.
has a plan.
There's high debt. However,
look at the direction where we're going. We're going well.
And that is why they didn't downgrade St. Vincent and Grenadines in 2025.
That's the point. And even December 2025.
We had the high debt in 2025.
I had the high debt in 2025.
Okay.
No. In Moody's 2024 report, they were aware of the debt finance port project infrastructure and approved these investments, saying, hear what they said in 2024. The B3 rating affirmation reflects the economy's ability to rebound after successive shocks and implementation of infrastructure projects that support economic growth and reduce the economy's vulnerability to shocks. That's what Moody said.
Read that again, please. read that again, please.
The B3 rating affirmation reflects the economy's ability to rebound after successive shocks and implementation of infrastructure projects that support economic growth and reduce the economy's vulnerability to shocks. Reflecting essentially what the IMF said in July 2024. Mm-hmm. In 2024, Moody's also predicted the debt to GDP ratio will move downwards from the completion of the port. Saying this is what they said. The stable outlook reflects our expectation that growth will remain relatively strong in the next 2 to 3 years, and that fiscal consolidation following the completion of large infrastructure projects will lead to a gradual decline in the debt burden, balanced against risks related to high exposure to climate shocks and the economy's limited diversification. The outlook also considers SVG's access to funding from NDBs, that's multilateral development banks, on favorable terms, limiting liquidity and refinancing risks for the sovereign. In other words, the outlook also considered that we could get money from these
concessional terms,
external financial institutions on favorable terms,
yes,
limiting liquidity and refinancing risks for the sovereign, for the government.
Yes. It also said they expect that growth will continue.
That growth will continue.
And that the debt will be reduced. It will fall over the next few years.
The real question is why that high debt coexisted with a stable rating for many years, including a periodic assessment. They did a periodic assessment immediately after the 2025 elections. Moody's, you know.
That's a sort of where are we now?
Where are we
assessment.
now? A periodic assessment. They tell you, they put a caveat to it. Well, this is not a rating exercise. The rating exercise will come. But they gave no inkling at all because they didn't know. They never reasonably expected that Friday and the government would be so foolish.
Reckless.
So reckless. So ill-advised in the pursuance of policies which will bring about real pressure on the spending side without economic growth.
You know, they were thinking, okay, these guys will stay on path. They will stay on course.
They will stay on course. Because Ralph in the election, but basically.
Yeah. That was politics.
That politics. So the real question is why that high debt coexisted with a stable rating for many years, including in a periodic assessment issued immediately after the 2025 elections, before Moody's revised its assessment only after reviewing the new government's fiscal program and policy signals. And the absence of any plan for economic growth from the NDP is important for us to address. Because when you read Moody's, the other reports Moody's talk about the economic growth.
Always growth.
About what we're doing. IMF. Read the Moody's reports critically, all of them. It's important. In Moody's, June 30th, 2026 announcement, headed Rating Action. Moody's ratings downgrades the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines ratings to CAA1, sorry. Changes outlook to negative. In this report, this latest report by Moody's, there is no discussion whatsoever of SVG's economic prospects or the NDP's plans for growth. None. Why? They don't have any.
Are there any plans for growth?
They don't have it. They don't have it. They came to office. The first meeting they have with Sandals, they basically chase Sandals. And then when they realize that Sandals say, we put St. Vincent to 2030, latest only thing. They run scampering, go down to see people at Sandals. Well, the people down at Sandals in St. Vincent are not the decision makers. They look fool, as Jamaicans will say. And then when Sandals came back to have further conversation, Friday embraces what Sandals is already doing at Buckerman.
Yeah.
The Rodon villas, the signature villas, and those on the hill, where they were putting in $30 and $75 million US
Extra,
respectively,
extra rooms
under the same agreed conditions signed by us, and they presented them
as though it's new.
But anybody go down there see what was going on?
It was going on before the election, long before election,
months before the election.
Before election. Yeah, it's just a continuation.
And the concessions for Sandals down at Moncton for the beaches, where work would have been going on already.
Should have started.
You have hundreds of people down there already, cleaning up, fixing up, doing all kind of things. They had a team on the ground, 15. But after the government behaving like how they behaving, they put us to the back of the queue.
So they chased off Sandals.
And then go when they realized, you see, because what happened? They were under the view the Minister of Tourism thinks that he has connections with an international group in St. Lucia. I believe people probably, cricketers probably stayed there. What they call it again? Not too far from Sandals in St. Lucia. I just stayed there the other day.
When you were in St. Lucia?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They came to St. Vincent. They wanted to carry them down by Royalton is the name. To carry them down by where we are hoping to get Marriott down by where we take over the property from
Black Sands.
From Black Sands.
Yes. That's Peter's Hope.
They went down there, they watched the thing, they showed no interest. They say, well, we could sweeten the pot for you now. We could get a piece of land to build a convention center down on the tarmac. And if you want more land at the tarmac, just tell us. They ain't got no plan, you know.
Desperation.
Royalton say, no thank you. And then
so now they're even more desperate.
They asked the fellas from Jamaica who are involved in the investment for Marriott.
Marriott, yes.
Could we talk? Because remember, we hadn't finished our conversation with them. We're still talking about what money we'll put in, what are the terms, what are the various things. So there's that conversation which is going on now with them.
But they had already put the Marriott on the back burner.
They had put the Marriott. But after Royalton say no,
they ran back in desperation. Even more desperate now.
a bird in hand, you know, is worth more than two in the bush. Those are man, when they equate females with birds, you know, when either jokingly or through misogyny, some of them prefer two in the bush than the one in the hand. But everybody will know that a bird in hand is better than two in the bush. They're gone. And then
but there's been no
they're talking about beaches and they are nitpicking. As I understand it, Sanders haven't told me anything, but information coming to me from inside of the government. They're nitpicking over this, that, or the other. Essentially, they will come when eventually the lawyers don't have their fun. They'll say, well, you know, paragraph 1B, Roman numerals 3. Ralph them did say they were going to do them for this, but we get off that is a concession less. This one, at the end of the day, not amounting to a hill of beans. And everybody will know that. But they'll want to dance on the head of a pin. Choreograph on the head of a pin. They got their propagandists to say, we sold the land for 14 cents a square foot. The man got the thing 134 times wrong.
Yeah.
He ain't get it wrong 10 times, you know. What? He got it wrong by a factor of 134 times. And people still think a fella like that is credible?
Well, he just sped past it like he didn't say it.
Yeah. You just, then, I'm going on with Moody's, in Moody's July the 1st, 2024 report. Let me just make this point. There has been no Moody's report or press release in recent memory that completely ignores the issue of growth, save and except this one, which was issued recently. For example, in the July the 1st, 2024 Moody's report, it said this: several key infrastructure projects, including expanding port capacity, are underway to support medium-term growth and improve resilience to climate shocks. New large-scale tourism projects recently started operations, which will support tourism expansion and economic growth in the region. This language of their report in 2024 July was repeated in the July the 1st, 2025 periodic review also. You can go and look at it there online. In not mentioning economic growth or medium-term growth at all in the 2026 downgrade, Moody's is signaling that they see no compelling growth prospects worth mentioning, which means that the debt to GDP ratio will be negatively affected. Because if you change the denominator, which is the GDP, the size of the GDP, and
the debt appears larger. If your GDP is shrinking.
Why is it that Moody's didn't mention the growth prospects? Is it that the new NDP team are so inexperienced in dealing with rating agencies and they did not know how to emphasize the growth prospects? Is that it? Well, or more to the point, is there no growth plan by the NDP that is sufficiently compelling to Moody's?
That's more likely it.
And that is the point. The omission of growth is extremely significant. Earlier reports balanced debt concerns against expected economic growth. The downgrade of 2026 contains no equivalent growth narrative. No, I want to.
And for persons who might want to dispute that statement that you just made, you ask yourself, between January 2026 and now, what
took place?
What
is
took
the major
place?
event took place?
Yeah. What has the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance stated, or the Minister of Tourism or any other minister stated about growth prospects, growth projects for St. Vincent and Grenadines that you could definitely point to and say, this is going to lead to growth?
Well,
highlight them.
There are none. There's none.
Maybe CBI.
We see what the European Union is doing.
We could talk about that a little later.
Yes, we see what the European Union is doing with that.
But they haven't even said anything about CBI.
They got a little lifeline from the policy-based loan, the PBL loan, which we negotiated with OFID Fund for International Development. And by the time we left office, though we hadn't signed it, they had agreed to the $30 million.
It was supposed to be $30 million. How much did they end up getting?
20.
Why do you expect they got $10 million less?
Well, it ain't because I don't know if the director them prefer Ralph's them general policies about all sort of things, including in relation to the Middle East.
Or maybe they asked for 10 million less. Maybe they only wanted 20 million.
No, they said they wanted the 30, but the fellas said they only giving 20. The fellas listening to it, no? And the fellas reading too.
It's not a grant.
It's not a grant. It's a loan. It's a very soft loan.
Okay.
As I say in the House, I said in the House in supporting it, I said that is good debt. But Friday tried in the House to say, well, when he reached in, we were in the process of dealing with the prior actions. I told him that was a jaundice statement when I replied. Jaundice not meaning yellow, though yellow is associated with jaundice. I say, basically, it was an untruth, it was a dishonest statement. Because the very bill itself showed that every one of the 5 prior actions were already completed by the ULP government, and the documents referred to were all of having completed, were all dated before the November elections. I said, but how? And when I was going through it, Bruce said, where you going over that far?
Yeah.
They don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
He instead want to have the time to make a ministerial statement about $1.3 million EC dollars project from grant from
FAO, is
FAO.
it? FAO.
That is, normally we would do a press release with that. That's to tell you, ain't got nothing to talk about.
$1 million.
1.3 million.
Yeah.
With some drones and some training to deal with pests, including the giant African snail.
Yeah. Well, he likes to talk about that.
Well,
he likes to talk about that.
But important things are supposed to talk about. Why is it that the World Bank has suspended the further construction of the multi-million-dollar project, the bridge at London?
We will get back to that. We'll get back to that.
I'm just telling you that the things what they
should be paying attention to,
and all that is being they can look at with anything is what we have left for them. In the case of the OFID loan, the meal was already served. When Friday turned up to the table with knife and fork, the fella them took away 1/3 of the food. No. They say, the propagandists say, for the NDP, they only 8 months in office. Is the ULP fault? Well, the answer to that is absolutely no, as I have been pointing. But I will summarize in this regard. Our country's B3 rating was maintained for almost 3 full terms of the ULP administration. And the B3 stable ratings remained unchanged during the last 2 terms when we were in office. From 2016 for 10 years. Moody's own, I'll just say it's not a coincidence that it changed when the NDP came to office and pivoted from prudent, sober fiscal management mixed with a credible growth plan actively being carried on. And that gave way to NDP's pronouncement with loose talking, reckless and politically motivated chatter on the fiscal matters, and as reflected in their budget, and no plans for growth. No credible plans for growth. Moody's own explanation for the downgrade identifies 3 developments associated with the new administration: increase in financial pressures, elevated financing needs, and uncertainty surrounding debt restructuring. While the NDP is focusing on this July the 26th report to cast aspersions on the ULP, they are ignoring the 2024 report, which acknowledged the high debt, infrastructure and expenditure deficits, and natural disasters, yet still reaffirmed the B3 rating stable. Even more significantly, Moody's considered the SVG periodic reviews of St. Vincent and the Grenadines economy in July 2025 and also in December 2025, right after the election. And they did not give any hint of any downgrade in either the July 2025 or the December 2025 review. I just want to say that when they do a periodic review, they contain a disclaimer saying this publication does not announce a credit rating action and is not an indication of whether or not a credit rating action is likely in the near future. But experienced readers of Moody's periodic reports will know that they're connected to when they make their ratings judgment, when they give their reports on the judgments. No. What did Moody's say in July 2025 and December 2025? In July 2025, July the 1st, 2025, SVG ratings, including its B3 issuer ratings with a stable outlook, remained unchanged. That's July 2025, July the 1st. That is after Camilo made his January the 13th budget speech when presented after we approved the estimates and he did his budget speech.
Yes, and in that budget speech,
he outlined everything.
The extent of the debt.
And
which they're blaming everything on.
And what we are doing about it.
Mm-hmm.
On the 18th of December, Moody's, 18th of December 2025, the government of St. Vincent ratings, including its B3 long-term issuer rating with a stable outlook, remained unchanged.
Fully intact.
Up to December, their review.
Fully intact. For the whole of last year.
On July the 1st, 2025, this is what it says. The sovereign credit profile of St. Vincent and Grenadines reflects its higher wealth levels than those of its peers, improving growth prospects and membership in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. So notice the sovereign profile of SVG reflects its higher wealth levels, higher wealth levels than those of its peers. I think
what peers are we talking about here?
Countries in that rating, in B3 rating. And improve growth prospects, and of course the membership of the currency union. Membership of the currency union adds to the stability of the EC dollar. These credit strengths are balanced against the country's high debt burden and large current account deficits, resulting in high reliance on external funding. The recurrence of climate shocks and natural disasters has contributed to fluctuating growth rates and fiscal imbalances that led to the high debt burden, which constrains the sovereign credit profile. Talk about the disasters, the impact on the debt, constrained. But look at what they put in the balance. They say the sovereign credit profile reflects its higher wealth levels among its peers. Countries which globally have a B3 stable rating. They took into consideration our improved growth prospects and our membership of the currency union. And these trends, they balance them against the high debt.
Improved growth prospects. Okay. So they're still paying attention to growth here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But they said that the profile would be better. The rating would be better if it were not for the climate shocks and all the rest which give rise to the debt. Then they go on to say, several key infrastructure projects, including expanding port capacity, are underway to support medium-term growth and improve resilience to climate shocks. New large-scale tourism projects recently started operations which will support tourism expansion and economic growth in the country. SVG's reliance on concessional financing and grants limits the sovereign's interest burden despite its heavy debt level.
All right.
You hear that?
All right.
That's 2025 July the 1st. December the 18th, 2025. This is 2.5 weeks after the NDP came to office. Following the 2025 elections, the Conservative New Democratic Party, NDP, ended 24 years. This is their periodic review, not a rating exercise. I say what you have to take the caveat with the periodic review, but experienced readers know that has influence in the rating. Following the November 2025 elections, the Conservative New Democratic Party, NDP, ended 24 years of the ULP's rule, prioritizing economic recovery, job creation, and enhanced security. The NDP's fiscal policies proposed tax cuts and increased social spending. Remember the election campaign things in order to win votes now, which could widen fiscal deficits unless balanced by revenue measures such as the Citizenship by Investment program. The debt of St. Vincent and Grenadines, primarily on concessional terms, rose to 99% of GDP in 2024 due to increased capital spending on infrastructure and reconstruction efforts in response to the devastation caused by Hurricane Beryl and previous volcanic eruptions, which inflicted significant infrastructure and economic damage. Goes on. While currently unlikely, we would consider a rating upgrade in case of materially higher sustained economic growth and faster fiscal consolidation than we currently forecast, leading to a significant improvement in the country's debt to GDP ratio. They were telling the NDP. While currently unlikely, we would consider a rating upgrade in case of materially higher sustained economic growth and faster fiscal consolidation than we currently forecast, leading to a significant improvement in the country's debt to GDP ratio. They went on to say, St. Vincent's and the Grenadines rating could be downgraded if it faces difficulties in accessing external funding on concessional terms. Such an event could strain its liquidity and constrain the government's ability to meet its debt service payments. Shocks derived from climate events that could lead to a substantial deterioration in St. Vincent Grenadines' fiscal and debt metrics. Notice, shocks derived from climate events that could lead to a substantial deterioration in our fiscal and debt metrics. Or, this is vital, a material increase in market borrowing would undermine the sovereign credit profile.
All right.
They warned them.
Have we had any shocks, climate-related shocks in 2026?
Not so far.
Not so far. So that can we put that one aside.
We put that one aside.
Okay.
Or a material increase in market borrowing. They said that we could be downgraded if we can't get money on concessional terms from outside. Well, you were supposed to get 30, you get 20 on very concessional terms. That's one mark against you. Remember I said in the parliament, and I warned them about the extent of this debt for the 200 million local loan. I warned them about abandoning the projects with the Saudi fund. If you had a difficulty with anything, I remember Cummins, when I reported that we had some delays, Cummins shouted from across when he was in opposition. He said, I always thought that anything with Saudi Arabia was a bit dodgy. You hear me? When man talk, you know.
They been paying attention? They pay attention?
Dodgy. No. And there is a material increase in market borrowing which would undermine the sovereign profile. Moody's, therefore, did periodic assessments of SVG twice in the ULP's final year in office, including an assessment immediately after the NDP was elected. Moody's was aware of the debt and the causes of the debt. Moody was also aware that the NDP represented a change in policy that could negatively affect the economy, including wider deficits, unless the CBI came as a fairy godfather or mother.
They mentioned the CBI there.
In the report in 2025.
Yeah. At the end of 2025.
Yeah.
But basically Moody...
And then Moody also said, and I want to re-emphasize this, that, quote, a material increase in market borrowing would undermine the sovereign credit profile and spur a downgrade. That is exactly what the NDP's first budget contained. A material increase in borrowing at market rates. Why the timelines matter? In July 2024, B3 stable reaffirmed despite the high debt, volcanic recovery and Hurricane Beryl. July 2025, B3 stable reaffirmed. Moody's highlighting infrastructure and tourism projects supporting medium-term growth. December 2025, following the election, Moody again maintained in their periodic review the B3 stable. It acknowledged that proposed tax cuts and higher spending warned that these could widen deficits unless offset by new revenue measures. And in July 2026, the rating downgraded to CAA1 with negative outlook. The debt burden did not suddenly emerge in July 2026. Moody had been aware of it throughout the previous reviews. The issue is therefore what changed after the election. That is...
What's a negative outlook? What do you mean by they say a negative outlook?
When they say the negative outlook, they're meaning it's confirming the CAA1, meaning poor quality, very high risk, unless there's something dramatic. Crap of smoke with pipe.
All right. So this 2025 December update, the statement that they put out, they're basically saying here, this Moody saying, look, we recognize there's a new government and they're going to take a new direction.
Yes.
Here are your options. You can get a higher rating if you do these things, if you can achieve these particular sets of things.
And they say unlikely.
It's unlikely. Then they say, what you are proposing is going to lead to a lower rating if you go through with these actions.
And
the NDP...
Or materially, or if you had the extra shocks.
Extra shocks, right?
And then,
which we didn't get.
Which they didn't get. And they warn them that if you materially increase market borrowing,
right,
which is the other side of the coin of not getting enough
concessional loans.
You remember, every time I go away and
when
get money,
back,
they say,
cost you. Yeah.
They say, Ralph, all you got
beg.
No. I told them.
Now they're begging Ian Waste. We'll come back to that.
The same man they cost.
Yeah. We'll come back to that.
But even notice, no, we can.
Thank God for Mr. Waste.
Ralph brought the partnership with Waste. They cost that.
Yeah.
But Ralph also had a housing program separating this thing from Waste. They don't got on,
No.
They're relying on Waste, $7 million US. And when I was asked about this, I'm not going to say who asked me about it. I said, I think a further contribution to the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines, doesn't matter which government is in office, has my full support. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
But already
it's causing problems.
they're trying to pollute the process.
Yes.
With their grubby partisan politics.
Mm-hmm.
It's dastardly. I know
people are complaining.
I know Mr. Wace, you know. And I know things which he will tolerate and things which he will not tolerate. And one of it is for people who want to have partisan political advantage in a manner where they carry out discrimination. Look, the man who managed the waste project in Union Island on the ground was an NDP man.
Mm-hmm. It is during our time.
During our time.
Yes.
That person was chosen by Mr. Waste's people on the ground. However, how they decided to choose that.
That was up to them.
That was up to them.
Yeah.
It's their money. And we will work with anybody. Eh? That's how much your people function, you know. In the interest of the people. Well, I say even I didn't need fugitive to have to say that, you know. I didn't need fugitive to have to say that. You know?
Carl Ralph.
No. They can't get. You notice they're talking about the CAT Didio, which we negotiated with the World Bank. A policy-based loan which they get some money from the CDB. That's our negotiation. Some of that had started to flow from before. I could go to various capitals in the world and talk to people. You see, one of the things for them to build up relations now would say a possible source of money outside of some of the traditional areas is the Middle East. But the Middle East is now in turmoil. And the Middle East, you just don't go to our Arab brothers and sisters and put your begging bowl, you know. No. You have to build relationships.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see what is your position in relation to Palestine. how you deal with certain issues. They study you. They test your reliability.
We don't have positions on any of these.
They do everything. They watch you.
Yeah.
They get reports. They
will study you.
They study you.
They must know.
And in this context, I want to extend condolences to the royal family, to the Emir of Qatar, my dear brother Tamim, on the death of his father, the father Emir, whom I knew personally. He was a great man who transformed his country. Extend sincerest condolences to the people of Qatar and to the royal family. No. As far as governments go, apart from the World Bank and the CDB, the next big next big creditor for us, the people from whom we borrow money, is the Republic of China and Taiwan, over $500 million. That's what is disbursed as of the end of last year. But as I had indicated to the Parliament, the total number which you have contracted is about $800 million. Because the money is still to be disposed on the hospital and in one or two other projects. Mm-hmm. It's now 8 months. The Prime Minister of this country has yet to jump on a plane and go to Taiwan. When I came to office...
But the Deputy Prime Minister went.
Well, I'll come into that.
Isn't that enough?
The Deputy Prime Minister went, announced in advance that he's going to Taiwan for 12 vehicles.
They didn't give him a remote control car. Not even a toy car they gave him.
No. I just want to... When I came to office I was sworn in on the 29th of March
2001.
On the 16th of April, I went to regional meetings. On the 16th of April, I went to the Summit of the Americas in Canada, in Quebec City. When Prime Minister Chrétien was the Prime Minister of Canada. I indicated that the first country that I'm going to do an official visit, head of government to the head of state, is Taiwan. I went there in the month of May. And I put certain things in train.
Within 2 months being in office.
You hear what I'm telling you? Got to know them. I'd gone there before as leader of the opposition. Friday didn't go there as leader of the opposition, because they said that they were going to change and go to China, mainland China. Leacock went.
Did he have permission to go there when he was the leader of the opposition? From his friends in China?
I don't know. Election money might not have been available, you see.
Mm.
Anyway.
Or maybe he doesn't have permission to go now.
So that is 8 months.
You think he will go?
I don't know. I really genuinely don't know. Some people feel that they want to finish the hospital and then to make their move. Finish the hospital with Taiwan and then make their move, break. They're talking things at the moment. Listen, the Chinese civilization is 6,000 years old, They know things and they do things with a patience and a calm and have a long, long view. They pay attention to all what is happening. The Taiwanese do it. They're part of the Chinese civilization, only with a different authoritative political expression. Mainland China, also an institutional expression of the Chinese civilization of great quality and nobility. So, I'm just pointing out some things to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, In this book, what is disbursed is over 500
million.
Let me tell you, for some political reasons, they're going to do some things which don't make prudence fiscal sense, money sense. They're going to spend. They're borrowing nearly $50 million US from the CDB that's $135 million. 40-something million. Coming up to 120-something million EC. And then they have to put in $16 million of local money. So it's going to go up past $140 million for Canawan Airport. What is there is over-designed. We had pointed that out. And we were working, we had done all the work on that, but we've told the CDB that we have to scale this thing back. And I made the point plain, even the scaling back, we have to do something else in Canawan. We have to change what is happening in the north of Canawan with Pinataro. Pinataro has to go.
Well, that's not happening anymore.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen anything happen there yet. I know of
You got
certain
friends
things.
in high places.
But,
So I've been advised.
well, sometimes there are forces outside of St. Vincent which are larger than Pinataro. And I ain't going to say anything more than that. One day I will talk about that here. But just remember, Vincent, just remember that I tell them that there are forces outside of St. Vincent, the Grenadines, larger than Pinataro. No. And Pinataro would know what I'm talking about. No. You have to do the revetment. You have to do the sea defense work. You have to do over because Beryl humbugged the sea defense. You have to do over, you have to resurface. You have to do some changes to the terminal building, also to the tower, and also to the fire brigade station. But you don't have to do those things in the manner in which the consultants and the architects had put it. You could scale it back.
Not to that extent. Yeah.
You could scale it back significantly. No, the CDB money for that is 5% interest, bigger than usual.
What's the interest rate for comparison, again, on the hospital project at Annisville?
The hospital project at Annisville is 3.5.
3.5.
3.5.
Hospital.
Yeah, because that's the cap, which I agree in the letter. Remember, I had explained that a little earlier.
I just wanted to get that back, the comparison, so that the hospital, 3.5.
And then the Candyman, we're having problems out at Annisville with the hospital.
Really?
It's over a year behind schedule. When they came to office, it was about 3 months behind schedule. Lots of problems, and they're not paying the people on time. So the money is there.
Who is not paying the people on time?
The government. The government not paying the contractors on time. They have several certificates which have been approved already for payment by the consultants, which have not been.
I needed to break this down so people could understand.
Okay.
So how does this payment scheduling work? In terms of the certificates granted?
You have two sets of consultants paid for by the government, paid out of the Taiwanese loan. They are there to see that the contractor does the work in accordance with the design and the specifications for the materials. Sometimes contractors and consultants would have problems which they have to iron out, because on an earlier meeting which I had with them when they were having some difficulties and they ironed them out, I said, please, you all sort these things out for me now. I don't want you all to have a suicide pact. I said to the contractors, you have to do your work in accordance with the terms of the contract. And I said that you're looking after our interest, the consultants. But let us all don't get particular attitudes one way and take fixed positions which may be unreasonable. And they resolved it, the difficulties and so on. I'm not getting involved in the details. I'm just talking about a frame. No. So you'd always have difficulties between contractors and consultants. But they resolved them. But when the consultants approve a certificate, the certificate is signed off by the chief engineer, which is after the two consultants do it, it's fairly routine. Then it goes to the Ministry of Finance.
This certificate that they sign off on is to say that
these fellows have done this work and they should be
amount
paid.
Of work
has been done and they paid.
Okay.
They're interim certificates of
varying stages.
Their certificates.
Stage one is complete.
Are complete. Yes.
You issue a certificate to say they finished stage one.
Yes.
Within the parameters
Absolutely.
set.
Because
now they're supposed to be paid.
What they would have gotten before, what they would have gotten up front under
mobilization money.
Mobilization money and so on. No. What Cummins driving the government to do? Remember, we are going to take just between $8 to $10 million max from this $125 million loan from the Taiwanese to fix up Milton K2, have accident and emergency properly expanded, have the outpatients, have the maternity and pediatrics, the children section, and then the dental section to improve it. And the NDP said, no, we're going to close this. They didn't tell us what they're going to do with
the space.
Maybe they're going to do it a kind of polyclinic. Don't know.
They're going to close Milton K2 Memorial Hospital.
As a hospital.
Okay.
And they want to put always where you're going to leave down there, out there. They want to put on new wings, pediatric. They want to put in maternity,
etc.
Dental care, enlarged thing, and all the rest of it.
But doesn't that make the project a bigger project?
Those will not come in. They haven't identified the source of funding yet. They haven't done any. They haven't gone to get any assessment for the. They haven't given the terms or the specified terms of reference to go out so that people can bid to design it. And then after they don't do the design, the reviews and all that involved, and they have to get the source of money. The current estimate, and it will grow, is in a ballpark of $65 million. You hear what I'm telling you there? That is nearly 200 million Eastern Caribbean dollars.
Extra that they have to find to complete the hospital project.
Extra.
To do what they want to do.
Unnecessary in the circumstances. Why? Because that is a ULP, Ralph-driven project. They want to say, well, we made it better than Ralph intended. Because they themselves were shocked that it was such a fantastic facility.
Yeah.
That we were building.
They said so. In fact, they were shocked with the fantastic nature of the entire healthcare system.
That's the point.
The minister said so?
No. Candyman. Where are they going to get that money from? And it's not necessary to be done. And they're changing the whole concept of the acute care hospital into that of a general hospital. No. So that's one. You could. They're looking for more.
Here's a question.
And so
with this downgrade,
yeah.
how does that affect their ability to raise these types of monies?
Real problems. They'd have to go. The only, other than going to the World Bank or CDB, and if they do that, those things going to take
A long time.
a very long time. So you'll have part of the hospital opening
While the rest of it is still under construction.
It's a construction site still. In the meanwhile, down there deteriorate because you could have fixed it up down there in Middleton Cato. What they're doing doesn't make any sense other than vanity. And you have to cut your cloth to suit your size in the circumstances. And Moody's have given a warning. Candyman, I don't know if the government is putting money, as I said, in the sinking fund. I don't know if they are making the payments in the contingencies fund for the rainy day. They may well...
We're in July.
They may well be using that money. They may well be taking the 1 percentage point. We're going to see the 1 percentage point which goes from the VAT to the contingencies fund. They may well be using it up generally. They're so hungry for money. You see the $52 million which they raised in the first half. One of the things which I would ask is to tell us which state-owned entities have bought bonds. Because NIS did such a fantastic year last year, they might have pressured NIS to lend them to buy bonds. I have no problem with the NIS buying bonds of the government of St. Vincent for development, you know. But what it would be interesting to know is how much of that comes from the state entities themselves.
What percentage constitutes?
And how much has come from private sector outside.
Because that gives you an indication of confidence.
And, well, I'm pretty sure that the Bank of St. Vincent would have taken up some because they're talking about an increased exposure of the government to the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have left the bank in a very good, strong shape, as I've outlined details more than one time on this program, and I did so in Parliament. And the reason why I did that, and I did the same thing for NIS, because I know where they might want to go and raid. They're going to be spending too much money on the airport in Canada. Last time, Friday in Parliament, said, well, you know, we have the money, we borrowed, there are two loans which the government, the previous government was dealing with, the one for the CDB for the Canada airport. You know, it's important we do that project. And I heard some people down the line, them who don't understand, I don't know if if they understand the arithmetic of this thing. Yeah. Of course, it's the project which we had put forward, but when we were saying
when they brought the numbers,
the thing is just too much. We have to scale it back. We have to scale it back. And even though it means delaying a little, we have to scale it back. But apparently they're going ahead full steam with that.
Well, there's a sense of urgency. Could you guess why?
That one day is driven. Well, we need to fix up the airport, but they are driven by a kind of group political culture think, which is pushing them to take decisions which are not within the interest of the country. No. There are many other things which I had intended to talk about today, but we're almost 1:45.
Yeah.
And I have some things to talk about security, which I wouldn't be able to deal with today. I have some things to talk about where they're giving data as to how they're dismantling some existing program or gutting them. And they're doing some things otherwise, neither here nor there, to deal with jobs, promotions, dismissals, public assistance, housing, the cutback for the National Lotteries assistance, the question of we dealt with little or no investment which is taking place. Then yesterday I saw Philip Jackson talk about something dated July the 14th from the chief education officer to the heads of secondary schools. You know?
Let's zoom in on that a little bit there now. So the Minister of Education, Philip Jackson, indicated yesterday, made a statement. It was aired on NBC Radio, and in that statement basically said, the government has decided after long consideration, according to him, that we're removing the fees for registration for first formers, people just entering secondary school, and he, pat himself on the back a little bit, and so on. He said, those students or those parents who registered their children already and paid already, you'll get a refund. The school, you contact the school and the school will tell you how you're going to get a refund. Why do you suspect that this announcement will come when so many schools have already completed their registration and people have already paid, etc.?
The truth of it, they never intended to do this.
But there was a campaign promise. They spoke
promise
about it a lot in the campaign.
And it's a campaign promise where it's part of the smoke and mirrors, which they do. They do a little something like that, but then they don't do other things which are supposed to be done for the schools. School feeding program, the furniture, the equipment, and so on and so forth.
A lot of the schools complain that they haven't gotten any assistance for this year.
This is a near, in the context of what all is taking place, this gesture is not going to impress the schools or indeed the parents. Some people say, all right, okay, but what are you doing about, let's take this, let me just say, parents turned up.
For registration.
To registration. And they say, but wait. Didn't all they say we didn't have to pay any registration fee?
Another printing error.
Yeah, another printing error.
So people start bombarding them now with calls.
People start to call.
Yeah. What happened?
And they quickly they cave. This is why what is very interesting. Philip Jackson, making his statement, said that he takes personal responsibility for the lateness of the implementation of this proposal. Well, behind those mealy-mouthed words of Philip Jackson, the fact that parents say, what kind of... I mean, listen, if you don't intend to do something, why you tell me you're going to do it?
Yeah.
Eh? You know, I mean, but here is where the problem is. Let me deal with the assisted schools, the assisted secondary schools. In these estimates
For 2026.
for 2026, they have in an appendix where those what is given, the assistance given to assisted secondary schools. Assisted secondary schools get grants to the tune of $1.3 million. It's the same like last year.
So it didn't increase?
No.
No increase.
And remember this, let me go on history. Remember, we took on the responsibility to pay all
Teachers.
who working by who working in the assisted schools. That never used to happen. That was a big problem. But the assisted schools impose certain charges. If you're stopping them from imposing certain charges, you have to increase the amount of money.
Yes.
And the money is
But
not
they didn't budget for it.
No, it's not increased yet. $1,326,178. Same thing in 2025. Same thing in 2026. So there's no increase.
So they didn't really intend to implement this measure
Clearly.
because they didn't put any money there for
They
it.
didn't put any money there for it.
Yeah.
So they have,
And it shows because it's late. It's in the middle of registration.
Exactly.
Registration annually commences. Soon as Carnival finish, some schools register on the Wednesday after Carnival.
no. If you're going to stop the assisted schools from doing that charge, if you don't give them more money, and the assisted schools will not, emphasize not, rely on the government to give them more money, because they're already balling, they ain't got
The assistance,
money to do this or that. They may not even give them the full extent of this assistance which is in the book. You hear me, Candy Man?
Because a lot of them been complaining they haven't got any assistance.
The Parent Teachers Association in those schools will decide, in order for their children to get a reasonable set of facilities, they would increase various fees. So the assisted schools are going to make it up somewhere.
They take it from here and put it on somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
In relation to the government schools, they have been waging a war against certain secondary schools who are very activists in raising monies. I can understand that if you spend your time, too much time, in raising monies, you may not have enough time to deal with certain core functions. I don't know if that is happening. But clearly, if you want to lock down any source of parents making a contribution, you will have to put more money in the budget, and that ain't coming. So that what you're going to have, this is why it says a smoke and mirror. One important test we're going to see is what is the condition of the schools
When schools reopen.
come September.
31st. August 31st.
And what we have to look at is whether they got the furniture issue right. Because it's now the middle of July. All the contracts should have been awarded.
Otherwise, that is also going to be late.
You're going to have problems. So it's like you increase public assistance from 360
to 500. Which is double, of course. We know that's double. That's just math.
Yeah.
We learned that kind of math.
Yeah. Instead of it being 720, which is double, you say carry to 500 and it's double.
Yeah.
The kind of dishonesty. But you cut back on the list. And you use political criteria. You take our poor people off the list. And then you don't have any money in that particular item to do other things.
Yes.
To strengthen the social safety net.
All the things that your administration did.
We were doing.
Yeah.
All the things we were doing.
Routinely.
Yeah. That's why when people go down there and they say, well, what about so and so and so? They say, well, listen, we don't do much of that anymore. Santa Claus is not in office anymore. Meaning me now.
Yeah.
That's what they call me down there, Santa Claus.
Yeah. Well, the Grinch is in.
Yeah, the Grinch is in. The Grinch is in. No. In the Parliament, I took this and pointed out to the government, and I told the Minister of Social Welfare, Chevron John, I said 4,700 people on the list which we left. The money you have here is not enough to pay 4,700 of them by 500. So I had to increase the money.
But she knew that. She knew that.
Or cut the numbers.
They already decided to cut.
There are other monies which used to be in that for other kinds of payments. You wouldn't have any money for that. I said, no. When I said it, I must say, she looked at me and like the light bulb went on in her head, because Friday had announced that
not coming back for any supplementary.
Warrant. No special warrant.
No special warrant. No supplementary.
The same thing I did with Bruce when they reduced the number from $4 million to $3 million to pay the workers in the various places in agriculture across the country, and so on and so forth. So there's maybe next week we should spend the program on Monday, talk a lot about housing and some of these things, because we have explained Moody's, and that going to set the tone, the pattern, and give people an understanding, because there's too much ignorance which is going on about it. But the man in Union Island who complaining right now, Moody's, my mood is bad. I'm in a rotten mood. In my constituency, people who used to benefit from the state in a rotten mood because the state is letting them down. All over the country, people telling you things hard, pressure, mother walk. Those are the things, expressions which I get on my phone. People are worried about whether you're going to have the uniforms, the shoes, the book bags, the extent of the books, all kind of.
People are worried how they're going to pay for transportation.
People are worried
and
about
meals
for transportation
because they can't go back to Lotto anymore.
Well, Lotto cut it off at a particular level, which is
it's ridiculous.
Completely nonsensical.
It doesn't make sense. You can tell it was done by people who do not understand poor people.
Well,
don't have any kind of relationship with poor people.
Yet, at the same time, they find money to do things which they want to do.
Like what?
Well, I hear many of them traveling, when they're traveling now, They're traveling, no longer traveling economy. They're traveling business class.
No. I don't believe that.
Well, I'm just telling you.
No, that's not
And
true.
this is not just the Prime Minister.
No. You mean like ministers, ordinary ministers, like Philip Jackson and... No, man, no, I don't.
Well, the people...
I could understand maybe for Shallow because he travels as the president of West Indies cricket.
Well, Shallow will not be found in economy for sure.
Yeah, but not
No.
not the other ministers.
The fellas are, in a few months' time, the fellas are in the business class, upper class things. Now, you know, we had a rule in the ULP administration. The only persons who traveled business class were the Prime Minister and the Governor General.
Yeah.
Or if you had some physical problem, if you have a problem with your knee,
Yes.
or with your back,
Or if, of course, the trip was funded by
If
an
the trip is
external source,
funded by-
and they so choose.
and they choose to
Yes,
put you that.
yes.
No. Then they are paying some people whom they have appointed some money is now per month. Some recent ones between where in a particular office it was going is $13,000 is now nearly $20,000.
No.
That where it was 15, it's now 30.
Double?
Yes.
That is the real double bubble?
Yes, that's the double bubble.
No.
Yes, I'm telling you.
$30,000 a month?
Yes, $30,000.
No.
I'm not saying that an individual, I don't want to begrudge anybody $30,000 a month, and I ain't saying that a professional ain't worth that.
I'm not saying that either, but I remember in the campaign, the NDP, the very same NDP, remember Shallow had his files.
His briefcase.
And they complained that nobody should be making that type of money. In fact, they said nobody should be making any teens.
No.
$17,000 was a lot.
No.
And that's not a year ago. That's a few months ago.
No. Those salaries are above, for instance, $30,000 is above a month. It's way above that for the CEO of Inlec, where you have assets of 300 million and 50-something, over 50,000 customers, a utility of that kind. Significantly more than the person who at NIS, where you have 10,000 pensioners and 47,000 contributors with an asset base of $520 million.
Well, CWSA.
CWSA, $120 million asset base with 47,000 customers.
Yeah, Braxa.
The Port Authority, way over what Kem getting as Bragsa. All this. And if you're paying those monies to people with less
These are comparable levels.
responsibilities, given the nature of these things, they're going to ask, and those immediately below them are going to say, for instance,
They go up.
When somebody was getting 15 in a job, the person next in line would have been satisfied with 10 or 9. But you can't get somebody 30 and the person next in line below that is getting 8 or 9.
Yeah.
That's
not justifiable.
And the whole thing would rise
And all the
up,
way to the bottom.
all the way
Yeah.
to the bottom.
This rising tide has to lift all the boats.
It has to. No, I understand that there's somebody in the administration has gotten a firm with which an entity with which they think they get a $20,000 to do some little thing for Tourism Authority, some advertising thing.
No. This is somebody that sits in the cabinet you're talking about?
Let me just say somebody in the state administration who is well connected.
No, man, I don't believe that one.
I'm also
I don't believe that
I'm
one.
also saying I've been told that $50,000 US was approved to put on an Inter-Caribbean, a logo for St. Vincent and the Grenadines on an Inter-Caribbean plane.
The Inter-Caribbean, you said?
Yeah. Inter-Caribbean.
Not JetBlue?
No, not JetBlue.
Not Virgin?
No. Let me tell you this.
Not Delta, but they left, so they're leaving. So Inter-Caribbean.
Well,
50,000 US.
Let me. When Delta came here, Delta knew what the load was likely to be initially. Mm-hmm. But Delta knew of the plans with Sandals, with their own expansion and beaches,
the Marriott
and other things. So they prepared to enter the market, first, test it, then they would do something seasonal, and so on and so forth. Well, when you have a failed state, and when you don't have any growth, you get Delta coming out.
Delta is making the same statement that Moody's is making by pulling out.
Would JetBlue make that statement too?
We'll have to see.
Look, Candyman, you have a minister giving instructions that this particular board, which is under the ministry, that anybody who is on the board who having any activity on any of the facilities of the board must get up to a $1,500 discount when they hold in an activity.
For the board members?
Yes. So that if there
this directive came down under your administration
no.
This is new.
This is new.
Oh, no, man.
And then
surely Dr. Friday would not allow this.
Then I understand the chairman of the board say, well, we need this in writing as a cabinet decision, not just a word of mouth instruction. The instruction ain't reach yet because the minister afraid to even take it to the
can't take that to cabinet.
Not even their cabinet. Not even their cabinet. They say no. Then you have many instances in which, as we have seen, and the public space, the Minister of National Security, he taken this thing to heart that he's really a major, not of a cadet corps, but of some high military establishment. You want to run the police force from the office of the minister. You want to manage it. And the instances policemen are telling me, coming to me, say they were entitled to, they had been informed by the police hierarchy that they were supposed to travel to go a particular thing, that the name scratch off. Nah. Somebody else gone.
Nah, my friend Major would never do that. Nah, not Major.
You know? Police have come to me with these things. They must say whether the more policemen must talk out about these things. Then I have made it plain that the Minister of National Security is talking too much and over-speaking. Ministers of National Security are never well-tuned cymbals. CYMBALS. They make discordant noises and songs. He's creating problems for cooperation between the St. Vincent and the Grenadines and regional and international forces, security forces and agencies.
Well,
I could talk.
I hear you, but I don't think Prime Minister
about what those individuals from these agencies have spoken to me about.
You think Prime Minister Leacock would agree with you?
You may speak just now.
Sorry.
No. We are at 1 o'clock. I wonder people
we
have
can take
questions.
a few calls. We can take a few calls.
Yeah.
So you can call us. I think we got a few, and anyway, we can say good afternoon to some of our viewers online. I see the phone is going already, so let me try to get some calls in. Is it WhatsApp? Put it up. Make sure. All right. Let me try.
And I believe some would probably have sent in questions.
I don't see any questions there yet, but you can send them in on the live or on the WhatsApp. All right. So, hello. All right. I think I need to get Bling to punch this in for me.
If Bling is here and we need his assistance.
Yes, Bling. I think I need to get you to punch it in for me there. Oh, all right. So we're over here. All right. Good. There we are. Hello. Hi, caller. Hello. Hello? No, we don't got that one. All right, we'll try this one. All right, here comes Bling. All right. Punch it in there.
Which one are you doing?
Hey?
What's up?
There. That or this one?
Yeah.
2?
Yeah.
All right, caller. Hello? All right, yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, let's try the other one. Hello, caller.
Hang it up.
Hello.
Hang it up. Hang up here on this way. Yeah.
All right. So you can try to call us there now. That was somebody who's obviously agitated by the discussion. That's all right. It's all right. Hey. We got WhatsApp here? Oh, we don't take the private calls?
No, we don't take those.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you got to take your phone off private when you're calling us, please. Hello?
Candyman.
Hi.
You get to ask Ralph.
What's that?
I say you get the opportunity to ask Ralph.
Ask Ralph, yes. Well, the new slang, in case you missed it over the weekend, the new talk is not ask Ralph, it's call Ralph.
Oh, okay.
Call Ralph. That's what they're saying. They're saying call Ralph.
I am calling Ralph on morning, Comrade. Candy, this is Lansford Weeks.
Yes, Mr. Weeks.
Madam.
Yes. Good to hear you.
Dr. Gonsalves, good afternoon.
Yes. Thank you.
It's been a while we didn't talk, and I missed quite a bit of your presentation this morning.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I was otherwise engaged in a meeting I definitely had to attend.
Yes.
But it is so enlightening to hear you speak on some of these problems. The economic situation that St. Vincent has found itself in, and the outlook, it's crazy. Dr. Gonsalves, when $1 billion investment is postponed for 4-5 years, and while the investors did not say that, it may well be because previously the persons who are now policymakers who have indicated that the investment from this entity should be capped.
Yes.
Should not be allowed to invest 1 cent more. You see, we have a problem. And all of these downgrades that we are getting, it's not incidental. St. Vincent, as I said previously, St. Vincent has found itself in a position where we have invested tremendously in infrastructure. We have an airport. We have a new port that is situated in the southern Caribbean that provides a lot of opportunities that the average person looking at it will not see. This brand new port that is located in the southern Caribbean is an asset of immense importance that we needed to take advantage of. You have a tremendous amount of seafront space in your capital city. And we can add to that, I'm talking about the vacant space that was created from the relocation of the main port.
Human radio.
That has provided, and I was about to say the point that you can add Annisville to that, because Annisville has seafront as well. It's a tremendous asset that you have that should be used to bring in private investment, foreign direct investment. Our tourism industry is rife for that kind of development. Not no Mickey Mouse thing where you bring a man who you're not sure if he's going to spend 125 million or 150 or even 75 that you say he's going to start with. That's not where St. Vincent is. St. Vincent is a place where we can get $1 billion EC dollars investment in one property, and that will drive our GDP tremendously, just in the construction alone.
In the case of beaches, is 1.35 billion.
Exactly.
500 million US.
So for ease of calculation, let us take it at a 1 billion. Dr. Gonsalves, in construction, the folks who are listening to me now know that in construction, there's a minimum proportion of that go to paying your wages.
Oh,
that
yes.
is in itself, whatever figure that is, that's an increase in your GDP right there, you know. So let us say 30% of that go to your construction wages. That's $300 million increase in your GDP.
But I will tell you this too, additional, Lansford. There are people from my constituency who I know built their wall house, 3-bedroom wall house, from working in the construction down at Bucament.
That's the point. And here you have the accumulative effect, because in their work at Sandals, their own worth has grown to the point now where it's causing an additional investment in the economy.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need to do. We need to expand the GDP. We need to expand net output in the country. We need to expand income earned in the country. When you do that, the government will collect more taxes. You will not have to increase the rate, but by the mere fact that income is expanding in the country, you collect more taxes. And your debt, I've heard you indicated that we pay 16% of government revenue to external sources as debt repayment.
For the external,
now,
and 26% to deal with the domestic debt.
Right.
26% of
so
revenue.
If you expand the revenue that you collect,
clearly
that ratio goes down immediately.
Absolutely.
Without you paying off the debt, the ratio goes down.
Clearly.
And instead of that, you have these people who sit in opposition for years, talking a set of foolishness, who go into government and assign themselves cabinet position that they have no experience, no training to deal with. I've made the point before, there are two ministers of government that I consider must be considered technical positions, the Attorney General and the Minister of Finance. As a Minister of Finance, when you sit in meetings and certain jargon, certain terms are used, you must understand it immediately.
Yes.
It must not sound like foreign language to you.
Yes.
You think that's the
So when you
case
sit
right
down
now?
with the IMF and the IMF tell you crap, you must understand immediately that they're talking crap.
Mr. Weeks,
And
do
when
you,
they
do
tell
you
a
think
good
that's
thing,
the case right now?
Of course that's the case right now, man, and you know that too. When they tell you good things, you must also appreciate that.
Yes.
So when they tell you to improve on the existing facilities you have, whether it is in housing or wherever, improve on them, strengthen them, and so you don't now have to incur serious additional cost to set up a development bank. Understand that they're giving you good advice. But if you don't have the basic knowledge, all you will be able to do is to tell people, I want to put more money in your pocket. I'm putting more money in your pocket. Like if it's not my pocket and when the money go in there, I would feel it.
But you know,
But if you spend your life just receiving money in your pocket without you putting in it, you think you can fool other people by telling them that you want to do that for them.
during the time in government, in the campaign, I warned the public about the citizenship by investment program, selling of passports and citizenship, both on grounds of principle and practicality. Despite what all was happening around us, there was this belief that the end of the CBI rainbow, there's some pot of gold. The Europeans had made it plain, as well as other Britain, France, and the UK, what they think about this program. Because when you sell it, that's where they're going for. People who buying it want to go to these places. That's why they're buying it. And in June, the end of June, the European Union, they wrote formally the governments, the 5 countries in the OECS, and said, look, we have some interim strictures until June 28, 2028.
2 years.
2 years maximum. But there are strictures, and we see the strictures already taking place in other areas. For other countries where those nationals are going for visas, where the visas have been cut out. Like, for instance, Dominica in relation to the United Kingdom. We see high-profile Dominicans, prominent Dominicans refusing getting their visa to go to the United States of America. Not for any, no suggestion is made that they involve in anything quote unquote criminal or anything of the sort. And then, well, that's action by governments. Then you have Moody's, one of the major rating agencies. As I said at the beginning, Moody's agencies is not John 3:16, not the 10 Commandments, but with influence. And up to December last year, when Moody's did a periodic report, it made it plain that it was not downgrading SVG, but pointed out what could be done after the election to have it unlikely upgraded, but nevertheless prospect opening. But what will happen? What could result in a downgrade? And one of the things they talked about which could result in a downgrade, well, 2 things. One, not getting the extent of overseas concessionary financing in sufficiently large quantities, and where you're forced to go to the market when they went with their 200 million. But they're not going to raise that. But it makes a nonsense of the budget, because that's what they budgeted for. So that you're now downgraded, you're now poor quality, high risk for investment purposes with a negative outlook. No, this is this government. Look at what in such a short period of time that they've brought upon the country. But these things which are happening at that level, people are feeling it at the grassroots level.
Yeah.
Incidentally, let me just say this. I saw a headline in the newspaper that Spain has visa-free access to St. Vincent and other countries. That's
nine CARICOM countries.
yeah, but we had that under Schengen. We had that under Schengen.
Yeah.
Because Spain is part of Schengen.
The whole Schengen zone.
Yeah.
That's not new for us.
Yeah. They might have had it. Trinidad is probably new.
Yeah.
But that's not new for us.
So it's a bundle kind of thing.
Yeah.
Dr. Gonsalves, this whole CBI thing is common sense. If you and I are friends, and you say, Lansford, you can come up to my house and my property and bathe in the dam and whatever. I say, thank you, Dr. Gonsalves. But I come back down now and I print tickets and start selling them so that I get people to come up and occupy your space.
And create insecurity for me.
Yes. What do you expect to do other than you politely to say to me, find some reason to say to me, well, that's courtesy I had extended to you to come and use my dam. Sorry.
It's withdrawn.
It's no longer available. It's common sense.
But that would make you wicked. Thank you very much, Mr. Weeks. I want to try to get some more calls in.
On the program.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I love
Mr.
that.
Weeks there. Yeah. All right. Feel free to call us up and hail up to somebody saying on the live here. Comrade, they're firing auxiliary officers like crazy. Some of them were not paid. Auxiliary officers are being treated like dogs. That's something we have to investigate there.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard anything about that.
I've been hearing some of that. Candyman, the firings, the discrimination on political grounds in so many different areas, it's almost impossible to talk about all of them because it's so. But I want people to call in about them.
Yeah, the lines are tied up, but I'm seeing that these the calls are coming from private numbers, and we're not taking any private calls. So if you're gonna call us, please ensure that your number is not blocked. Okay. All right. Let's try this one here. Hello. Hello.
It's better if they try and get you on the WhatsApp.
Yeah, I'm trying the WhatsApp there, but I don't know. It's up. It seems to be up. We got a caller on there. Yes. Which one is that?
Tuna.
Oh, this. Hello? Hello?
Hello, good afternoon, comrade.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hey.
Good afternoon, comrade.
Audrey, how things going?
Good afternoon. Everything all right?
All right, God bless.
Now, everything happening now. I really don't understand why people are expressing such surprise that people are being fired, that unemployment increasing. That I really do not understand why people seem to be so surprised when every single thing happening now, they were warned about it. The people in Southern Grenadines, they were told what their fate would be if they selected the New Democratic Party. They were told that their situation will become worse. Why are we behaving as if we are surprised? Because you know why? They were not paying attention. They were focused on the things which appeared to be so good, so golden. This too good to be true. So I'm going for this, so they did not listen. And now things are happening, things are manifested as they were told. They are crying. Well, it's not too late. It's not too late, and I hope that they are not complaining because they are feeling the pressure now, because based on everything that is going on now, while in opposition, the New Democratic Party paraded the name of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as the poorest country. Vincentians were pauper, strict, more pauperized. That's how they portrayed St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Since they took office, they have done absolutely nothing to take St. Vincent and the Grenadines out of the state of poverty that they claimed. Instead, we are losing jobs, Moody downgrading. So I would like to know, how can we now define the state of the economy and quality of life of Vincentians at this time? If, according to the New Democratic Party, things were so bad then, how are things now that nothing has improved and everything seems to be going underwater, everything going underwater? How are we supposed to survive in the Democratic Party?
Well,
what is in place? Who can help us? They cannot help us. Who is going to help us? Poverty will eat our eye like how worms eat maggot. That is what will happen to us under this New Democratic Party. We will all suffer.
Well, that is what is beginning to happen. That is what people have been enduring.
Thank you,
Thank you, Comrade.
I mean, Audrey, is all over the country hearing the cries about the hardships, the difficulties, the problems, and and we know we have challenges, certain legacies of underdevelopment from the historic past. We know that they're contemporary challenges, but the way the NDP is proceeding to govern, they're making things far worse, and they're not addressing the problems that need to be addressed, and they're not doing so in a credible manner. And that is...
Here's a comment from somebody on WhatsApp. Good afternoon. I went to make a payment on my land, and I was told they're not taking any money, and all the letters have to go back to cabinet because the lands were undervalued and we would have to pay more. I'm talking about the last set of lands that was distributed. I believe this would have been the lands in Sandy Bay. Was this Sandy Bay?
There were some lands in Northwind, but some in
Orange Hill.
In Orange Hill, and some in Langley Park.
Right.
Now, the point about it is this. If you are offered land by the cabinet of the country, having interacted with the chief surveyor, and a determination is made, and there's a contract. You have made an offer, I have accepted it. I've come to pay, you want to change the terms thereafter? That will be challenging the law courts. And I'm urging persons to bring that information to us. We have a unit which we have asked Saboto to oversee. But give me the information too.
Yeah, or you can come to the party headquarters in Kingston.
Office.
UP headquarters. And
provide the information to Ferdinand, who is my research officer.
We'll document it and we will follow up, definitely. Somebody else is saying, not sure if I missed it, but what happened with the reading of the dual citizenship provision during Carnival that the government is trying to change to save themselves?
Well, you may recall that we led a fight on this. And when they came back to Parliament on the 2nd, they submitted a new order paper, and for those two bills, rather than first reading, they had deferred. So they had deferred their consideration. Not withdrawn them, but deferred.
Yeah. By the way, we have to give congratulations to Comrade Rodan John, who just completed his PhD in Taiwan.
Congrats, I heard, so I was informed. Congrats, Darren.
Somebody says, ask PM about the celebration of his 80th birthday, which coincides with CPL on August 7th, 8th, and 9th at Honnesville.
Well, the first thing I'd like to find out about CPL, August 7th, 8th, and 9th, I heard about the advertisement. But they haven't told us how much we are paying for CPL. Because CPL is not coming here free.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a big
but it must be free because they made no money in the treasury. So where would they get the money?
A
to
big
pay for
expenditure like that, they are not telling us how much it is going to cost. When we did our Emancipation Cricket Festival, we told you up front how much it was going to cost.
Did so?
And we justified it. Tell us the cost and justify it.
Why is all this amount of secrecy from the government?
But this is the point. Everything. Up to now, they haven't told us what is Friday's son's role, what he's doing. They have ducked that question. That's still subsisting. They haven't told us how much is the rent which Friday pays to Keith Boy for the living in his house. None of those things. They don't have money in the budget to cover the rent. They're going to have to do a supplementary. They'll have to do a special warrant.
But he said he's not doing that.
No. He had to do a special warrant.
Okay, we'll see.
Unless
to cover his rent.
To cover his rent, unless Keith says to him, I'll wait until you put it in the budget next year. I doubt that. I think if I were Keith, I want my money. And I know Keith would want his money. These are things, but I would celebrate my birthday in St. Vincent after the 8th. What happens is this. Eloise has a family member who is getting married in the UK. The mother for this young man is dead. And Eloise was very close to this family member. So, and she had given the mother the undertaking that anytime her boy is getting married, that she'll be there. And I'm also required to be there. So I will be away for that week. But we will do something when you return. When we return. We have to break bread somewhere.
Here's another one from WhatsApp. Good afternoon. I just want to say this. Most of the loans obtained thus far from this government is being put towards recurrent. And I believe that the last one in Parliament, I bet you, again, most of that will go to recurrent expenditure.
Absolutely correct.
To me, that's a dangerous situation. It means we're not generating enough cash flow to service our recurrent expenditure. I also want to add the issue of the CBI program. The Prime Minister said no matter what Europe said, the program will continue. He has depended on that so much that he has no way out. But he can continue. But if the object of obtaining these passports is to travel to certain countries freely, and these countries said no, then they conned a time. I'm not getting that one. There comes a time, when there will be no customers. It brings me to the point that this administration has high hopes in the CBI. But don't forget, during COVID-19, without a CBI program, we were never defaulted on salaries, etc. But the countries with CBI did default.
Absolutely correct.
And the person says, and I want to know about the bridge in London, Dinky Bridge.
Yeah, and well, this is why I said that the Minister of Agriculture should have been making a statement on that in Parliament, because that's a big, big issue.
The Minister of Infrastructure.
The Minister of Infrastructure,
yes.
The Minister of Works.
Yes.
Should have been making a statement rather than some of the statements, well, the one certainly which is, well, Bruce made.
But was he given a statement to make?
The thing has come to the public notice, and the only man has given an explanation on his side of the story is Dinky.
Yeah.
Dinky, the contractor, Bally's. He says, it's not my fault. He says so many other people's fault, and he gave chapter and verse from his perspective.
But that's the only perspective we've gotten so far.
Well, and everybody else is silent. Why is it a multi-million-dollar project of great significance to North Windward has been halted by the World Bank? When the World Bank halts a project, it means that there was a period before Candyman where there's discussion, where there's an attempt to resolve the problems. Is it that there is, that the contractor is at fault, that he's delaying the work, he's doing shoddy work? I'm not saying those things. I'm just saying that.
But what is? Because we're not getting any explanation.
Is it that there is a design error, and that you have to go back and design? The technical people who did the design. Is there that we have an expansion of the scope of works?
Well, we don't know.
And there has not been money made available for the expansion of the scope of works. And the World Bank saying, no, I'm paying for that part, and so on and so forth. I don't know. Nobody knows. But all I know is that when a World Bank...
How often does something like this happen?
Very rarely.
Did it happen often under your administration?
No. There would be difficulties which would arise, as I said, between contractors and consultants and so forth.
But they resolve them before you get to this extreme
they
measure.
Resolve it before you get to this
I
extreme.
think it is the extreme, isn't it?
This is, it's extreme. The point beyond that is to simply, they say, well, we are satisfied that this project has broken all the rules, and we're pulling the plug on it.
Well, I hope we don't get to that. It's an important project
get to that point.
for North Windward.
I hope we don't get to that point. You see, people see these things, and we do all these projects over the years so seamlessly. They think it's easy.
It looks easy from outside.
It looks easy.
Here's a comment for you on WhatsApp. Comrade, when they kill over 1,000 hotel room project, don't they know airlines are going to pull out?
Good question.
It's a direct correlation.
Good question.
Somebody says, before the election, I wrote on Facebook many times, you will hear, if I've been Ralph, if I've been Mr. Gonsalves, Mr. Gonsalves been have he way but. I also wrote, there will be weeping, mourning, and gnashing of teeth. And as an old spiritual Baptist preacher used to say, who ain't have teeth will gnash their gum. Gum gnashing now.
Well, fellas, it was reported to me that people on the block in Sharps, where major things that he has, the fellas on the block, after he has insulted them and verbally abused them very early, said that none of them going to embarrass you if they do anything wrong, bear the penalty, and how some of them lazy. You remember he cussed them? They're saying they have the informal discussions. The same conversation there is the same one on the block in south of us, which is a stronghold of the Comrade and the ULP. Is the same conversation down in Chateaubriand. Is the same conversation in Union Island. People are saying, when Ralph was there, the money used to spread.
Yeah.
Things hard like rock.
Call Ralph. I saw a live video posted to a gentleman out of Union Island. He was on the block. He was going live from on the block.
I heard it.
And he had his compatriots around him, and the guys.
His language was not the most sanitized.
I think the guys are genuinely frustrated.
His language,
they were promised.
His language was not sanitized.
No. And he said emphatically, he said, I am a proud NDP supporter.
Yeah.
He said, I've been with these people. But he also said equally emphatically, these guys are getting one term.
Yeah. He said he wants Chevron leadership.
Yeah.
He said he wants Chevron leadership.
He said this is it. I can't be with these guys anymore. One of the things he said they're looking to suck everything for themselves.
Yes.
And they're not pumping anything into the constituency or into the people. And I paid close attention to that.
Yes.
The young people down there in Union Island who campaigned for and voted for the NDP are up in arms.
The young man was quite clear as to what you were saying, and he was emphatic. I mean, he used a few words which I would prefer if he didn't use.
Yes.
But as you say, he's clearly frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is across the country.
Well, here's this one. Somebody says, I didn't see any road cleanup before Carnival to put a little money in people's pockets to enjoy Carnival. Elephant grass trying to hug you up when you're walking on the roads. By the way, somebody
Elephant
said
grass trying to hug you.
Okay, when you, but you know, I can't tell the last time we've gone this long without cleaning the roads.
Yes.
Because remember, the last time was December, and that was a truncated program.
Yes.
They'd cut it short. And actually, somebody sent me a video on Monday of road gangs out in Beckway.
Well, one of the things which I've heard coming out in Beckway is that the team leaders for these groups, they have been replaced, and that teachers, school teachers who are on holidays have been given the jobs
But the road gangs.
to oversee these road teams. It's a new model. It's amazing.
But it's amazing that only one constituency. I spoke to one of the traditional gang leaders in central Kingstown. I happened to meet her on the road yesterday. So I stopped and I asked her, well, what's going on? When are y'all going to clean the road? She said, we haven't been told anything, not a word. So they don't even know when they're going to start. But I find it interesting that, Northern Grenadines, only in the Prime Minister's constituency, it seems that the roads are being cleaned and nowhere else.
Now, one of the worst, one of the nastiest things this government has done, Candyman, is to fire 28 of the 30 yes mobilizers and coordinators and replace them all by NDP activists. I mean, it is a dastardly case of political victimization.
Surely.
And the
we're getting a call here. Let's try to bring this caller in. Hello.
Hi, how are you guys? How are you guys doing?
Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Yes. I just want to say to the Prime Minister, good day. He looks so young and nice and blessed as usual. But
I love when beautiful ladies tell me that.
Boy, keep for you. I just want to say.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say, look at the difference a year could make, because after Carnival last year, the NDP, they didn't waste any time. Remember, they started off with a campaign and they started off with a load of meeting, and that's where they did get the hype from going into yellow is the code. And look at now that they are in government, and it's like they won the election. However they win it, I don't think they win it fair and square. It's just something not right. Because I don't believe Vincent Shan did hate you. I hate the government of your government, that they would have definitely voted out the party clean like that. But things happen for a reason. And, God doesn't like to see unrighteousness. And that which happened in darkness will soon come to light. And that's why I could say to people, the NDP could never govern properly because they never win correctly. I don't even know. But I am saying they never win in a way where they would have won the election so that people will know that they win free and square and whatever the case may be. But there are people right now, they are crying out.
They're balling like cattle.
Yeah.
And I am confused that they're so confused. They're confused like they don't know what they do. Like what's happening, how they're so confused.
Well, one of the main propagandists is a confused man. They say confusion. It's big confusion right now.
And you remember when you were in power, Prime Minister, when you used to help and so much of the NDP supporters, so much till they used to take it for granted. And when the guys used to be in a position, they used to say, take the money, eat them out and vote them out. And they never knew, or maybe they never realized that most of their people was getting so much help that now that they won, they're the one now who removing the names of the people who are getting help. So now people seeing the difference.
Absolutely. You're quite correct.
You know?
And the parliamentary, the NDP parliamentarians running away from people.
Yeah, of course.
They're running. They can't face the people.
Of course.
Before, they used to tell people, they used to tell their constituents, well, put us in. Right now, we don't got the power, we don't got the resources to do anything. Just put us in, and everything is going to be fine. You remember the promise that within the 60 days, all young people who don't have a job was going to be employed.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Yeah. Well, within 60 days, we were supposed to cut the VAT to 13%.
Right. So what they do really, the commercial and advertisement, they were telling the people them what they wanted to hear to get into power. And I don't believe them, man, they want a second chance, because they know to themselves a one term them again. And it's no joke about it. They know it's a one-term government. They don't even care. Remember Friday and Canadian, people need to understand the mistake that they make. They put somebody in power who doesn't really care about the nation. Friday doesn't want to win again. I do not believe it. So anyway, good day.
God bless you. Thank you, my dear sister.
Thank you, Comrade. Thanks. All right. Yes. Somebody says not only are they running, but they're changing their numbers.
Absolutely correct. They're changing their numbers. What is happening now too? When some of them go to funerals, because occasionally they have to go to a funeral now.
Mm-hmm.
And when people accost them, they say, listen, man,
I need to talk to you about something.
Today in the day now. They pass by me, call me. In one case, a woman gave he said, give me a number. And he could call me. The woman gave him the number. The lady then called him.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at the number, switch off his phone and put it back in his pocket when the phone rang.
We're getting another call there. Let's try. Let's take this one here. Hello? Hello?
Hello, good afternoon, Comrade. How are you?
Hey, John. How you feeling? How are you? No.
Well, I feel a lot better than
Praise God.
before.
Praise God. That's the most important thing, John. That's the most important thing. Yes.
Yeah, but I wanted to tell you, Comrade, that I have been talking to Vincent all the years come. I've been talking to people about the NDP. The NDP is not a good government for this country. I was talking to them. I was talking to people all the years, talking to them that the NDP is not good for this country, but the people do not hear what me and you and other people was telling them. So now the feeling the grind, the burning,
and it's only not even 8 months good yet, and it got worse to come.
And this, and I'm coming. This is just smoke.
It's more the fire behind.
The fire behind them. But that is not. Let me share something else with you, Comrade. Now, when the rain come, and the rain come heavy, how you see on the roof and steel inside. The rain just come in and wet down sometimes. So I went up. I went by welfare department. John is telling me that Santa Claus is not there anymore.
Yes, that's what they're telling everybody. They call in Ralph Santa Claus. But the
That any kind of wicked
but Santa
government that we have and sending to
Santa Claus is a warm and generous soul.
Let me say to Vincentian is saying to live. It's not to live.
Yes, it's not too late. We people will take to the streets in time, John. It's building up. It's building up.
But
I'm telling you, the NDP with the 14-1, they frightened to death because they know that the people don't turn against them. They know the people don't turn against them. They're frightened to death.
But I am calling upon people who could help me to buy some steel for the entire roof. That they could help me because
may you go talk off the air with that and see what could happen. All right. All right, John.
Yeah.
We'll work that out after.
All right,
okay,
John.
Comrade. Take it easy.
All right then.
Yeah,
May
take
call
care.
you. Good.
That's Comrade John there. Somebody was saying on the live, somebody says, let me read this for you. Under Ralph, to sign up for lotto assistance was your child's name, your name, the name of the school, and your location. Now is a whole job interview and pressure.
And they put the limit, Candyman, that you can't get any help if the household income is more than $2,000 a month. No, Candyman. Minimum wage is now $1,000 a week. $1,000 a month, sorry. Minimum wage, $1,000 a month. You work 5 days a week.
1,000. 6, 12.
You know, so you get $250 every week. That's $1,000. So two people in the house. Mother and father.
Let's take a pin, We'll come back to that. Let me try take this call here. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Yes.
If your radio is on, you can turn it down for us.
I have been listening for quite some time to see if any aid at all went to Venezuela from the earthquake.
No.
Have I missed something? Because I haven't heard of anything.
All they have said.
Any Vincentian aid went?
All they have said in Parliament and out of Parliament is that they're working with CARICOM and they will support through CARICOM, but they have not said anything about how much money they contributed.
I think the Prime Minister pledged 100,000 US.
He pledged 100,000.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't see that.
But you know how it goes with him and pledges.
Yeah, with the pledges.
Yeah,
with the pledges.
That
Yes,
I don't
I
know.
did see that in truth. Yes,
He did say that he pledged 100,000 US, but that's $100,000 was the same amount that was pledged to the students for Beryl.
Yeah,
which they haven't received 2 years later.
And I haven't heard whether the Cubans
the pledge
have
for Cuba. I don't know what happened to the pledge for Cuba. So, if his history of pledging is to be borne out at this time, you know.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Yeah. I remember there was a pledge.
Yes, I remember that too. Yes.
But you know, the Fridays, Mr. Pledge.
Yeah.
Like to make pledges. We got to wrap up. It's 3 minutes to 2. There are quite a few things that we. Next week. Yeah.
We are here now 3 3/4 hours. Not a bad session.
No man. We did
not a bad session.
Canvas quite a lot today.
Not a bad session. And I think the first caller who wanted to be out of order.
That is the kind of response you get from them, because I'll tell you.
Answer.
I will say this, right?
They can't answer the facts.
I remember vividly ULP being in office, and ULP supporters would be proud to outline the policies and the programs.
Absolutely.
And the projects that
Absolutely.
the government of the day were implementing.
Absolutely.
That were benefiting people. ULP supporters will call and say, hush all about, look at this education revolution. This year we get 3,000 tuition scholarships.
Absolutely.
By the way, you notice the government is not saying anything about those tuition scholarships. There's no promotion of it. We used to do great promotions.
The only place I understand what they have done promotion is on the NDP website, where they put it all in yellow, as though inviting people to make applications, as though this is an initiative of the NDP.
NDP project, yeah.
This is an NDP initiative. I mean, it is. They have nothing to do on their own, but we will see how many students will get.
Yes, we'll see.
We'll see.
Because every year was a record for the last.
Every year was a record.
The last few years.
Every
year was increased.
Every year we increase it.
But their supporters don't have anything to hold on to. They don't have anything to be proud of. So what they have to do is cost,
Yeah.
So that's what they get.
What I suspect they will do, they will have such an elaborate process to
get approved.
That by the time the approval comes about for a lot of persons,
people will give up.
People will give up.
Yeah.
And they'll say, wait until next year. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
But I think they're phasing out that. I think that's what they...
Right, but, carry the fools a little further.
Yeah.
All right. Candy Manuel, it's good to have you back, man.
Yeah,
Today is a historic day.
History. Yeah. And they were saying that I was missing. I ain't missing. Me there, yeah. The Fantan Moja, the big reggae artist out of Jamaica, passed away as well. I don't know. I don't have access to the library. Bling would have to show me, but Bling would have to play some Fantan Moja.
Yes.
Play some Fantan Moja for us as we go, because we have to big up the brethren. It's a brethren.
And also, we'll never walk alone.
Yeah. We got it lined up there already.
Yes.
And
The other one,
yes, it's cute. All right. Okay.
Will you walk through a storm? Hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm, there's a golden sky and the sun